All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's Transit Commission meeting, and thank you for joining us. Before we begin our regular meeting, we have a special ceremony today. It's fitting that as Transit Commission we're meeting this morning because today is Transit Operator and Worker Appreciation Day. It's an annual event that's an opportunity to recognize and thank Canada's transit workers for their dedication to move people safely. This day is an initiative of the Canadian Urban Transit Association, or CUTA, and we're fortunate today to have Marco D'Angelo, the President and CEO of CUTA, with us to mark this occasion. Good morning, Marco. Thank you for joining us. As Transit Commission Chair, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to recognize everyone involved in keeping our city moving forward. Every day, thousands of people rely on bus, rail, and paratransport services to get where they need to go in our city. And none of this would be possible without the dedication and hard work of thousands of OC Transpo employees. While customers may be more familiar with roles like bus and rail operators, there are many teams working behind the scenes to deliver safe and reliable transit service in Canada's capital. Aujourd'hui, je tiens à remercier tous des chauffeurs et chauffeurs du transport collectif de l'ensemble de l'organisation qui jouent un rôle important et précieux au sein d'OC Transpo. I'm very pleased that some of these dedicated employees have been able to join us today in council chambers. And I'd now like to invite René Amilcar to say a few words on this annual celebration and to introduce us to these employees. Welcome, René.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. As Chair Goward mentioned, today is a special day, and we had to take this opportunity to recognize the very special people at the heart of our organization. OC Transpo is a family of over 3,000, and I'm proud to work alongside such a dedicated team. Every day, our employees are helping thousands of riders reach their destinations safely. I know that the work is not always easy and often requires early mornings, late nights, and operating in all types of weather and other difficult conditions. Today, we are here to thank you. For Transit Worker and Operator Appreciation Day, we invited some special guests here who represent every employee at OC Transpo. My apologies in advance if there are any employees who feel their role has not been represented as managers, communication staff, and all frontline and office support workers. I would like to ask our guests to come to the front and join me as we take this moment to appreciate your contribution to OC Transpo and learn more about you. Please join me. I will introduce each of our guests today and ask them to step forward when their name is called so that we can acknowledge them. Tara McCaffrey. Tara is an electric instructor who has been an OC Transpo employee for 11 years. As one of the first electric rail operators, Tara is proud to have worked during the testing and commissioning phases of O-Train Line 1 and on the first day of revenue service. Simon Harris. Simon has been a customer service representative at OC Transpo for the past 4 years. Simon understands the importance of paratransport services and has fond memories of sharing his transit knowledge with community moments at events. Julien Lacroix. Julien has been a transit planner for 5 years at OC Transpo. Julien was an important part of the operational testing for the new bus loops at Leitrim, Bowlesville, and Limebank stations, which was an exciting Stage 2 milestone. Nathalie Elmer. Nathalie is a senior customer service representative who has been with OC Transpo for 7 years. One of her favorite memories is helping to train guide dogs on the LRT and working together with passengers who have experienced vision loss to make their trip safer. Naomi Flint. Naomi is currently a light rail project specialist and has worked with OC Transpo for 7 years. Naomi remembers the excitement of gathering with colleagues to see the new O-Train South vehicles for the first time. Calvin O'Brien. Calvin has been a dedicated member of the OC Transpo team for 5 years. As a program manager in the contract management unit, Calvin has watched the progress of Stage 2 through many milestones, but some of his favorites have been in the testing and commissioning phases. Howard Poon. Howard has been with OC Transpo for 24 years and is currently a transit supervisor. One of his favorite memories is driving a bus to his son's elementary school, where all his classmates got a chance to get a picture in the driver's seat and take home OC Transpo swag. Joanne Carr. Joanne is a paratransport operator with over 34 years of service. Joanne believes that the best part of her role is giving people a sense of independence and learning about life from our customers. Elvis Scantlebury. Elvis is a transit operator who has worked with OC Transpo for 7 years. Elvis is a beacon of positivity and once received a personal card from a passenger that said he was the best bus driver in the world. That was truly a priceless moment. Curtis King. Curtis has been with OC Transpo for 7 years as a journeyman plumber. What Curtis remembers most about a tornado that destroyed equipment at Maryville Garage in 2018 is not the damage, but the teamwork everyone showed to come together and clean up debris. Martin Antoine. For the past 30 years, Martin has worked at OC Transpo in various roles and is currently a working supervisor mechanic. Throughout his career, he has had the chance to see several high-capacity fleet vehicles introduced and enjoys the continued collaboration across many talented teams. Geoffrey Forrester. Geoffrey has been with OC Transpo for 9 years and currently works as an electric rail operator. He's proud to be responsible for getting passengers to their destinations safely and enjoys knowing that he's part of moving our city forward. Thank you all for taking the time to be here with us this morning and giving us a chance to acknowledge your commitment and dedication to OC Transpo. We appreciate all that you do today and every day. Please join me in a round of applause for our special guests. And now I have to turn it back. Girls.
There you go. How are we gonna do that?
Renee goes on the ground and goes like this. Like we won the championship.
Merci, Renee. And again, thank you and welcome to all of the transit employees who are joining us today, and all of those who are out working hard on the road and in the garage and everywhere else with OC Transpo. We really appreciate all the work that you do. This is our 11th Transit Commission meeting, and today is Monday, March 18th. We acknowledge that Ottawa is located on unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation, whose culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land.
Chair,
Yes.
please, I just have a small thing before we move forward, if you don't mind.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So last week, I was joined by Mayor Sutcliffe, City Manager Wendy Stephenson, Chair Gower, and Chair DeRoche to tour the Saint Laurent and industrial garages and speak with employees. We heard about their daily work, highlights of their roles, and the challenges that they face. I was grateful for an opportunity to thank them for their commitment and dedication to keeping our city moving. We have a short video from our visit to share with you today. Please.
Thank you for all you do to keep our city moving. Merci pour tout ce que vous faites pour garder notre ville en mouvement.
Merci. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you all very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you for your amazing job. Merci beaucoup pour votre travail incroyable. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. I continue to be inspired by the entire team at OC Transpo. I appreciate everyone attending today's commission meeting and making this special celebration. Over to you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, René. Il est important de souligner que la ville d'Ottawa se trouve sur un territoire.
Important to mention that Ottawa is on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Their culture and presence continues to nourish this land.
Councillor Brockington. Councillor Carr.
Present.
Councillor Hill.
Present.
Councillor Leeper.
Here.
Councillor Lowe.
Here.
Councillor Menard.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Here.
Vice Chair Curry.
Here.
Chair Gower.
Here.
You have quorum, Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any declarations of interest today? Seeing none. First item is confirmation of minutes for Thursday, February 8th. Are those carried?
Carried.
Carried, thank you. Today, we have two main items on the agenda. We have the OC Transpo update. We have a presentation from staff on that and a couple of speakers registered. And we have an update on our zero emission bus program. And we have a presentation on that as well. So I'll turn things over back to Renée and her team for our OC Transpo update. Renée.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Thank you very much, Chair. We continue to acknowledge the diversity in our community. You can move to the slide too, please. Thanks. Today is Transit Operator and Worker Appreciation Day. We have also recently celebrated Black History Month and International Women's Day. It's not over. We will also celebrate International Francophonie Day later this week. Le français étant ma langue maternelle, la Journée internationale de la francophonie occupe une place très importante.
This is a very important day for me, and I am so glad that Ottawa is an open and inclusive city. Who could have thought 15 or 20 years ago that a Black French-speaking woman would be in charge of OC Transpo?
We continue to see great engagement with the Transit app. Every month, there are more than 100,000 users. Last month, there were almost 4,600 app downloads. We also saw 37,460 daily active users in February. These results are very encouraging, and we continue to monitor feedback and data to ensure that the Transit app remains a valuable tool for our customers. We will begin testing our fare readers and fare gates in the coming weeks to offer Interac as a form of payment. When implemented, this update to O-Payment will allow customers on conventional bus service to pay with debit for the first time. Customers can already tap their credit cards to pay their fares. Paratranspo customers have been able to use either credit or debit on Paratranspo vehicles since April 2023 using a separate system. Stay tuned for more updates on this exciting addition. This year, we are continuing to focus on creating a more diverse and inclusive workforce and bringing more women into the transit community. That's why we are hosting an information session for women later this month as part of our Empowered at the Wheel initiative. We are committed to helping women feel welcome, supported, and encouraged at OC Transpo. This information session is a chance for women to learn more about career opportunities in transit and hear from staff about life as an OC Transpo employee. We are proud to have announced this upcoming event on March 8th, International Women's Day, which aligns with this year's collective goal of inspiration and inclusion. We are promoting this important event on our social media and our website. In February, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the first bus route in Ottawa with special features on our website and social media. This exciting milestone generated many positive conversations in our community as we mark the evolution of transit in our city. In addition to our web and social media features, we also wanted to highlight this celebration by adding commemorative flags at all the current bus stops that sit along the first bus route. These special flags will be on display until the end of this year. Next slide, please. Here is a photo of one of the commemorative bus stop flags that I mentioned. These flags look great, and I want to say thank you to the teams who were involved in getting them designed and installed. Bravo. Next slide, please. The first phase of our new on-demand service began on Sunday, February 11th, in Blackburn Hamlet. This responsive service is currently available on Sundays and select holidays. To date, customers have completed a total of 82 trips using the on-demand service. 62% of trips have been either to or from Blair Station, and 93% of trips departed on time. We are working with our software vendor to prepare for extension to Saturday service. I will now pass the floor to Troy to discuss the Line 1 disruptions that we experienced in February and provide an overview. Next slide, please.
Merci. Thank you very much, Renee. So as part of today's summary, we know it's important to highlight the two disruptions that impacted our customers on Line 1 in the month of February. So starting on February 9th, late in the evening, a rail operator observed sparks coming from an overhead catenary system support pole just west of Cedarville Station. R1 replacement bus service was immediately implemented between Saint Laurent and Blair stations, with rail service continuing along the rest of the line from Saint Laurent to Tunney's Pasture Station. The next day, rail service was able to operate along the entire line. However, we were single tracking between Saint Laurent and Blair stations. And late in the evening, on the 10th, R1 replacement bus service was re-implemented to allow RTM, our maintainer, to finalize the repairs. Full service resumed on Sunday, February 11th. The root cause into this failure was determined to be the premature failure of an insulator, which is a component of the OCS and its support infrastructure. While there has been no other signs of other premature failures, RTM have been proactively inspecting insulators and replacing as needed. Moving to the second disruption, during the day on February 14th, a train stopped just outside of Lee Station due to a mechanical fault, which then in turn caused a power loss to that section of track, as well as minor damage, a small gauge to the OCS wire. The plan that was implemented was to run single tracking around the stopped train between Uottawa and Herdman stations. However, shortly after that occurrence, a second train stopped between Uottawa and Herdman Station, and we were unable to continue that single tracking operation. We had to implement R1 between those two stations again. While R1 was in place, RTM was able to remove the stopped vehicles, make repairs to the OCS, and following a series of test trips without customers on board, we were able to return to full service later that day. The root cause of this occurrence was determined to be caused by one of the components of the pantograph, and determined to be a damper. When this component failed, the pantograph was not applying the appropriate amount of pressure to ensure consistent contact with the OCS. So it was essentially, it was bouncing a little bit. This caused the train to stop, the power failure, and as a result of that, not having that consistent pressure to the OCS, caused some arcing, which resulted in that gouge to the OCS. Dans les deux cas, nous avons fourni régulièrement des mises au jour et des communications aux clients au bord des
trains. In both cases, we made updates and we clearly communicated with customers at the stations and on social media. We worked with RTM to restore full rail service to all stations as quickly as possible.
So at this point, I'll now hand it over to my colleague Paul to present our health and safety KPIs.
Thank you, Troy. Next slide, please. Good day, Transit Commission. I'm Paul Charwatat, Chief Safety Officer at OC Transpo, and today I will share an update of the employee injuries, customer injuries, and vehicle collisions. First, I want to draw your attention to the employee injuries. Vous remarquerez que le nombre total de blessures
You'll
déclarées
notice that the total number for 2023 was 826. This number is in green because The calculation of total number of hours worked gave a result of 6.46 injuries for every 200,000 hours worked. This number is below the Health and Safety Management System's goal, the SMS, the Safety Management System, which is set 7.57. That's the threshold. So it's an improvement if we compare it with 2022, where there were 7.48 injuries for every 200,000 hours worked. This is the lowest accident rate that we've seen in 8 years. In January 2024, there were 90 new injuries declared, which is higher than the monthly average of 70 per month in 2023. And this is largely due to about 20 sliding incidents and falls.
First, slips and trips. Secondly, traumatic or stressful event. Third, struck or caught by an object. The customer injuries to date for the year 2023 finished slightly higher than the Safety Management System target of 1.036 injuries per 1 million trips at 1.06. For the month of January, the year-to-date customer injury rate is at 1.16 per 1 million trips. January was particularly challenging due to the changing weather conditions, with our customers slipping while disembarking buses and walking on bus platforms. We continue, however, to see that hard braking events on buses continue to be the main reason for injuries requiring medical attention for our customers. On the next table, for vehicle collisions, we observe that both the total vehicle collision rate at 2.21 per 100,000 kilometers and the preventable collision rate of 0.98 at 100 per 100,000 kilometers exceed our safety management system targets. We continue to rely on our one-day mandatory driver refresher training for all OC Transpo employees who are authorized to operate an OC Transpo vehicle as part of their job duties. This one-day refresher training, combined with a number of other initiatives, such as the disciplinary measures program, the safety observations program, and improved data mining efforts with our newly hired data analyst, are all intended to address the limited review of bus operator behavior that was conducted by the OAG and a number of fraud and waste complaints that have been received. The bar graph below shows that to date, 1,016 operators have completed the one-day refresher training. This is as of the end of January. This represents a 44% completion rate of all OC Transpo employees who are required to operate a vehicle as part of their job duties. Now I'd like to pass the floor to my colleague, François Kirouette. Next slide, please.
Merci beaucoup, Paul. Bonjour à tous.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. Before I get started, I'd just like to say that my name is François Kirouette. I am a program manager for strategic services, and my team is responsible for the design of the station and client experiences and preferences. And here I'm going to talk about performance indicators.
Associations professionnelles du transport en commun, telles que l'ACTU, et des groupes d'étalonnage au niveau national et international.
We work with international and national groups, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today to represent our latest results.
For the first time as part of our regular updates to you. Over the past year or so, we've used a variety of survey tools to learn and receive feedback from our customers. One of these tools is a regular survey which has been conducted by a contractor on our behalf on a continuous basis since September of last year in 2023. This survey we call our Weekly Pulse. Every 4 weeks, approximately 1,000 Ottawa residents are surveyed, including both OC Transpo customers and non-customers. The survey captures a random sample by telephone and is representative of the overall City of Ottawa population. We've also conducted 2 other longer surveys in the winter and fall of 2023, which had longer questionnaires to gain additional insights into the habits, attitudes, and sentiments of our customers. The chart before you shows the percentage of transit customers who agree or somewhat agree that they feel secure when riding on OC Transpo service. It shows that a high percentage of customers continue to tell us that they feel safe when riding on OC Transpo, with results over the past 6 months at about the same level, around 85% who agree or somewhat agree, and about the same level as were observed last winter in 2023. Transit customers here are defined as respondents who say that they sometimes ride OC Transpo or more often. Next slide, please. À l'aide des mêmes sondages, nous avons aussi demandé à nos clients s'ils sont heureux
We
avec
also ask our clients if they are satisfied with the service at OC Transpo, and the results show that 45% of our clients are fairly happy, satisfied with the service. We can also observe since last September a slow increase, as you can see on the right, of the satisfaction of the clients following the operating of the train. More than a third of the clients say that if they're happy with the service, it's because of its reliability. In the same way, less than half of the clients tell us that they're not happy and they're hoping for an increase in reliability.
We'll now go through our regular Transpo key performance indicators, starting with on-time performance. The chart shows the percentage of Transpo customers who were picked up during their planned 30-minute window. We can observe year-over-year improvements in February 2024, with on-time performance increasing from 91% in 2023 to 95% this year. Transpo on-time performance continues to remain steady, with results between 91% and 95% throughout the year. The higher results in January and February this year may in part be due to the milder winter weather we've enjoyed. Next slide. Le prochain indicateur est le temps d'attente moyen.
The next indicator is the average response time. We can see here an improvement since last year, with a waiting time in February of 2 minutes 13 seconds compared to 4 minutes in February 2023. This increase is remarkable because the number of reservations in 2024 was higher than in 2023. We can see that the waiting period in the last 13 months is fairly stable, less than 5 minutes and under our target.
This chart shows the number of Transpo reservations by month by mode of booking. In black are the number of bookings made by telephone, and in orange are the number of bookings made online. As Transpo ridership has continued to increase over the past year, the total number of bookings has also increased from 76,000 in February 2023 to 90,000 in February 2024, last month. The proportion of bookings or reservations that were made online was just over 9% in February. That's the orange part of that bar. Higher than in 2023, when it was 7% of bookings, but about the same as the past 6 months or so. Next slide. This chart here shows the rate of Transpo-related complaints by month and by category. The rate of complaints in February was 2.2 complaints per 1,000 Transpo customer trips. This is higher than the previous month and slightly higher than the same month in 2023, but at very similar levels to what has been observed for many months over the past year. The overall increase in February is due to more complaints related to fares, as can be seen in gray on the chart here, the gray part of that bar. The rate of complaints related to service delivery, booking and information, safety and security, and service policy all have remained steady from one month to the next. Next slide. Ici, nous pouvons voir les résultats d'achalandage.
We can see here the ridership slide for January and February 2024. In January, the clients did a little over 67,000 trips, more than in 2023, and 10,000 more than our forecast. In February, the results are similar, with 68.9 thousand trips.
In terms of Transpo fare revenue, only January results are available to be presented to you today. Paratransport revenue in January, the black column on the chart here, at 201,000 was 37,000 higher than for the same month last year in gray, and 41,000, or about 25% higher than was budgeted. The increase in revenue is due to the increase in ridership for Paratransport we've seen on the previous slide. Next slide. We'll now move on to our conventional bus and O-Train KPIs, starting with Line 1 service delivery. This is the percentage of service which was delivered as planned, and in February 2024, service delivery was 98.8%, nearly 2 percentage points higher than for the same month in 2023, when it was 97.1%. As Troy has explained earlier, service delivery in February was affected by 2 unplanned events, the overhead catenary event on February 9th and 10th, and the power loss on February 14th. Next slide. This slide here shows the service delivery for our conventional bus service. Again, this is the percentage of our service which was delivered as planned. The result in February at 98.7%, that's on the right of the chart here, is a year-over-year improvement and also an improvement compared to the results for the past 7 months. In fact, service delivery on weekends for the whole month of February was 99.5%, and on weekdays for the last 2 weeks of February was 99%. These positive results take us closer to our target of 99.5% service delivery and are a reflection of our initiatives to improve the reliability of our service. Next slide. Now, this slide provides some additional context to the service delivery rate that we've just seen for February 2024. As I mentioned, overall service delivery for the month was 98.7%, and this represents an average of 112 trips out of just over 8,100 trips that were not delivered on an average weekday for the month. Of the trips that were not delivered, about 2 out of 5 were due to not having enough bus operators. Just under a third were not delivered because of on-street issues such as traffic congestion. 1 out of 5 trips were not delivered because of mechanical breakdowns, and the remainder, about 1 in 10, were not delivered because a bus was not available. Less than 1% were not delivered because of buses being pulled for R1 service. Finally, the table at the bottom left of the slide shows the 3 routes with the most undelivered trips for the month of February. They were in order: the 75, Line 2 replacement buses, or Route 2, and Route 39. All 3 had a service delivery rate of 98%. Next slide. This chart here shows the overall absenteeism by month over the past 13 months, both for bus operators and electric rail operators. The bus operator absenteeism is shown with the black line and round markers, and the absenteeism for electric rail operators is shown in orange with the square markers. For bus operators, absenteeism in February 2024 was 12.8%, a decrease compared to the previous month, and a significant improvement compared to the same month in 2023, where absenteeism was 17.4%. Average absenteeism for all of 2023 was 14.7%. For electric rail operators, absenteeism in February was 16.1%, higher than the previous month and higher than for the same month in 2023, where absenteeism was 10.4%. Given the relatively small workforce for electric rail operators, absenteeism results are much more prone to large fluctuations, as can be seen on the page, than for bus operators. Average absenteeism for rail operators for all of 2023 was 12.1%. I'll now quickly hand it over to Troy Charter, who will provide some additional comments regarding absenteeism.
Merci, thank you, Francois. Nous savons qu'il est essentiel de gérer l'absentéisme.
We know we have to manage absenteeism because it's a key factor to improve the reliability of the service. We set up we took some measures with our partner, including initiatives to improve surveillance and the attendance control.
And reporting that has been implemented, which is providing both daily and weekly metrics to our frontline management team. These metrics, combined with weekly meetings with the city's disability consultants, is enabling staff to have more timely and frequent meetings with individuals concerning their attendance. A performance management strategy has been put in place to support our staff in making informed and consistent decisions in managing attendance. As I mentioned, timely notification and communication is a key priority in the program, and it's intended to manage both those sporadic 1 or 2 day type absences, as well as the longer term absences. Lastly, and most importantly, we are leveraging the reports and the program to further support our frontline staff. There are employees that require assistance in managing their attendance, and we're making sure that those supports are available, those supports are known and communicated, but as well, we're taking the time to make it more of an effort to recognize employees who are exhibiting exemplary attendance. We have a large workforce, and we have a large number of employees who are demonstrating great attendance every single week, every single day, every single year. And we want to make sure that we're recognizing those people and acknowledging that. And at the same time, setting expectations for other employees that we do need regular and reliable attendance, because that is key to providing a good, reliable service. I'll now pass things back over to Francois, who will continue the presentation on our key performance indicators.
Merci, Troy. Le prochain indicateur est la ponctualité du service d'autobus pour les circuits qui
The next indicator is the on-time performance. You can see the percentage of trips that were on time or less than 5 minutes late. This is continuing to improve in January and February, and compared to last year, and it went up to 77, 78% for the last 2 months. It is an improvement year after year. Once again, the nicer weather this year has probably contributed to this result, and also the service improvements.
This next KPI is the on-time performance of bus routes which operate frequently, and that is every 15 minutes or more frequently. This interim measure is the same as for the previous slide and shows the percentage of trips arriving at major stops no more than 1 minute early and no more than 5 minutes late. The trend for our more frequent routes is similar to the trend we've just seen on the previous slide, with significant improvements in the punctuality of these routes in January and February 2024. Our on-time performance reached 66% and also demonstrated improvements year over year in February. As we've discussed previously, this measure is being presented in an interim fashion while we work to implement a better indicator of the regularity of our frequent bus service. OC Transpo is a member of the International Bus Benchmarking Group, and through this group and other industry associations, we've been reviewing best practices and consulting with our peers to determine the best way for us to measure and report on the regularity of frequent transit service. For more frequent bus routes, it's more important for customers that buses arrive regularly and are evenly spaced. As such, the overall performance of some of these routes may be higher than what is presented here, as we work to ensure that the time between each bus remains consistent rather than sticking exactly to the schedule. Next slide. Nous présentons ici l'achalandage pour le service d'autobus
Here
conventionnel.
you have the ridership for the Line 1 and conventional buses. You have, for this year, it's the black line. The forecasts for 2024 are shown by the horizontal line. In January 2024, the ridership was 6 million trips, 500,000 or 9% more than last year, 6% less than our forecast.
Finally, the following slide contains the fare revenue results for the Line 1 and conventional bus service. Once again, the black column shows our results for the current year, the gray column, the results for last year, and the gray horizontal line, the 2024 fare revenue budget by month. Fare revenue results for January follow a similar pattern to ridership results. January revenue at 12.2 million was nearly 1 million higher than for the same month in 2023, but 1.5 million lower than our budget. The variance in January is in large part due to the lower than expected sale of full fare adult passes. And that's it for our performance indicators today. I'll now hand it over to Olivia McGinty. Thanks.
Merci, Francois. Thank you. So my update this morning is a brief one and meant to update you all on the progress of our bus operator recruitment and training plan. Before getting into it, this slide here is a reminder of our roadmap to 99.5% service reliability, with recruitment and resourcing playing an important role. Comme vous l'avez déjà vu auparavant, cette image...
As you saw before, this image is our commitment to improve the reliability up to 99.5%.
components, all of which are multifaceted, must come together to achieve our common goal. Il s'agit d'une map de route où ensemble.
This is a roadmap where the three components will help us reach our objective.
So with that, under the recruitment umbrella, we have to date hired 84 bus operator trainees. In fact, 26 of them started today. Graduations have not yet taken place this year, but starting at the end of the month, we will see trainees graduate every 3 weeks. Our plan is an ambitious one, but we continue to do our best to fill our regular classes as much as possible. And remember, this is an incredibly detailed and multi-step screening process, and that's what's behind these numbers. To give you an example, 250 candidates are attending our customer service testing sessions starting today and throughout the week, and this is just one step of our nearly 10-step process for screening. So lots of great work behind these numbers. Next slide, please. And so we're making some incremental inroads on the recruitment front, which is exciting to see. And soon you will hear about our robust training plan that supports OC Transpo's recruitment efforts at large. You will also hear a brief update on the bus maintenance action plan. So without further ado, over to you, Ken.
Thank you, Olivia. Throughout 2024, next slide. Throughout 2024, the professional team of instructors in the Training and Development Department will be extremely busy supporting learning for new and existing staff. This is done in support of Stage 2 for rail, the bus maintenance program, and to ensure we offer the best training for our staff to deliver on 99.5%. The new bus operator training plan for 2024 consists of 15 cohorts of 30 trainees for a total of 450 trainee positions, with the plan to onboard 330 new operators. New classes start every 3 weeks. The first class started February 5th earlier this year, and the last class is slated to start November 25th. The training consists of 3 weeks of days and 3 weeks of nights and 2 weekend shifts. And all high-capacity driving is completed on nights and weekends until the trainee is in service, so that there are no impacts to our customers. Next slide. The new Transpo operator training consists of 6 cohorts with 6 trainees for a total of 36 trainee positions. Classes are spread throughout 2024, and the first class started January 29th. Les 4 opérateurs présentés sur cette diapositive sont les diplômés.
The operators here are the graduate of the bus drivers for OC Transpo at the course that started on January 29. They got their diploma on March 5 during a ceremony where the general manager was present.
The last class of the year is planned to start November 4th. The course consists of 2 weeks of day training and 2 weeks of night training and 1 weekend shift. And all drive time is done outside of peak service until in-service and mentoring training. Next slide. The new electric rail operator training consists of 4 cohorts of 12 trainees for a total of 48 trainee positions. Classes are scheduled to start in the summer, with the first class scheduled June 3rd and the last class slated for November 25th. This is primarily the training of new rail operators for the East Extension, and the rail training plan remains flexible and can shift as required. Next slide. The new diesel rail operator training consists of 5 cohorts of various sizes. A total of 16 DROs will be certified to drive in the coming days. 6 DROs remain in the final assessment stage. 33 trainees are in the on-the-job training phase, and 9 trainees are in the ORCR rules training, which is the federal rules set used to make train movements on the Trillium line. Next slide. The new transit maintenance training consists of 6 cohorts of 6 trainees for a total of 36 positions. The onboarding course is 111 days, and classes are spread throughout 2024. The first class started February 12th, and the last class is slated to start July 8th. Additionally, the training group is working on taking over the oversight and application of the apprenticeship program. Next slide. Employee refresher training is cyclical training for any employee required to drive a bus. It is scheduled with the expiration of the employee's driver's license. It is a 3-day course that employees are required to attend every 5 years. There are 3 course times to choose from: Friday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday to Wednesday, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., Monday to Wednesday, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And again, the training is designed to not impact peak bus times, as the training does have on-road components. Additionally, there is a new building service attendant course that we are offering this year. It runs monthly and is 5 days long, and it covers topics such as WHMIS 2015, garage and electrical safety, and CPR first aid. Next slide. Further to what was mentioned in a previous slide presented by the Chief Safety Officer, the Controlled Intersection Awareness Program was created in response to the OAG Limited Review on bus operator compliance with regulations. To date, just over 1,000 employees have been trained, and 52 of those employees have required additional skills building. The average drive-able score is 24.745. Anything above 60 requires additional skills building. It runs daily, Monday through Saturday, and 48% of the issues observed have to do with right-hand turns. And in the spring of 2024, the training group will start offering additional classes at night. Next slide. Some additional changes that we have made within the training department include the new bus operator training familiarization program for trainees that are new to the city. This is a program that is focused on the more complex routes that we have in our network, and it provides an opportunity for trainees to learn on their own time. New transit maintenance training modules are now open to all employees, not just trainees. So when we onboard new maintenance employees, we will invite existing employees to drop into certain classes where they may need additional skills building or information. We also have apprentices and mechanics in daily for training. And we are now offering more technical training than ever before on a variety of topics, including, but not limited to, forklifts, bus hoists, transportation of dangerous goods, the basics of fall protection, tire training, wiring, and e-bus, just to name a few. Next slide. At this point, I would like to turn the presentation back to Renee. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Ken. Part of our bus maintenance action plan was to focus on staffing key positions that would help address issues in our fleet management. I'm pleased to share that we have now filled 2 important positions that will help OC Transpo with long-term planning, forecasting, and resource allocation. Rajiv Masay recently joined us at OC Transpo as our new strategic maintenance planning manager. And we have also welcomed Bill Cutler to manage transit and fleet maintenance. Both Rajiv and Bill bring a wealth of experience in fleet maintenance management that will contribute to our goals of improving our overall maintenance program. I'm looking forward to the positive impact that these 2 will have on operations and service delivery in the coming months. Starting in April, we will be sharing maintenance KPIs with the Commission as part of OC Transpo 5-year roadmap. These KPIs will include bus availability, mean distance between failure, MDBF, and so on. By sharing this maintenance data with the Commission, we will be able to provide you with a deeper insight into the ongoing progress of our bus maintenance action plan. I will now pass it to Dan Richardson to share more insight about our service reliability program. Next slide, please.
Thank you very much, Renee. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Richardson, and I am the Program Manager of Operational Planning with OC Transpo. I've worked with OC Transpo for almost 11 years, and in my role as Program Manager of Operational Planning, I oversee scheduling, network design, service reliability, and transit priority. In total, my unit consists of approximately 20 planners, schedulers, engineers, coordinators, and analysts. Collectively, my unit works to create bus schedules, plan routes, coordinate transit service for special events, plan and manage bus stops, and plan for transit priority and service reliability across the network. La première chose dont je parlerai aujourd'hui sera
The first thing I will talk about today will be the Service Reliability Program.
The service reliability team at OC Transpo has existed since approximately 2016. However, given recent challenges with the reliability of service, we have created a new program that will place an increased focus on identifying and addressing service reliability concerns. Les objectifs du nouveau programme sont les suivants.
The objectives are the following. First, minimize trip cancellations, enhance transit priority, reduce delays, and improve travel speeds. Improve on-time performance, increase operational efficiency, and prioritize investment to maximize benefits. And finally, enhance tracking and reporting. These objectives in our service reliability program are being reached. We are collecting data.
Overall, these objectives will form the foundation of the renewed focus on addressing service reliability challenges across the network. Next slide, please. More specifically, service reliability working group meetings are held on a weekly basis and include representatives from several service areas within OC Transpo. The intent of these meetings is to gather input on specific challenges and operational issues affecting routes in the network in such a way that they can be translated into practical mitigation measures that will have a measurable effect on service reliability. Thus far, since these meetings began earlier this winter, over 70 comments have been tracked. The comments received thus far have generally been related to a few key topics, including scheduled runtimes and on-time performance, general operational efficiency, and planned and unplanned disruptions to service, which includes things like impacts from construction and detours, as well as demonstrations and the associated marches, such as those that we continue to experience on a regular basis in the downtown core. Next slide, please. In addition to regular service reliability working group meetings, staff hold regular meetings with representatives from ATU Local 279, representing bus operators, and QP Local 5500, representing transit supervisors and controllers. These meetings occur in addition to regular meetings with union representatives focused on employee morale. These meetings provide a regular opportunity for frontline staff, including bus operators and operations staff, to provide feedback on various topics, including runtimes, routing, operational efficiency, signage and wayfinding, break locations and washrooms, transit priority measures, signal operations, and disruptions from construction and detours. In addition to the opportunity to provide feedback through union representatives, bus operators can provide direct feedback themselves by submitting what is called a Service Improvement Request, or an SIR. SIRs can be submitted by bus operators at any time and are received directly by service planning and operations staff. SIRs are also tracked through the new service reliability program to ensure that feedback received from operators can contribute directly to mitigation measures and resolutions. This system has existed for many years. However, an upgrade to this system is currently in development and is expected to be rolled out later this spring to improve the ways that SIRs are submitted, tracked, and resolved. Since the start of the winter service period, 65 SIRs have been received from bus operators. Of these 65, over 60% have been addressed and resolved. Overall, the new service reliability program has created a multifaceted approach to gathering information, maintaining lines of communication with frontline staff, and ensuring that OC Transpo can take a solutions-oriented approach to managing and improving service reliability, all with the goal of achieving our service reliability targets to improve the service provided to customers. Next slide, please. Another exciting new project that OC Transpo is undertaking is to transition our transit signal priority system to a new modernized GPS-based system. Currently, the presence of a bus at a signalized intersection is detected using inductive loops, which are metal loops or strips that are embedded in the roadway that detect the bus and send a signal to the traffic controller. Unfortunately, this system has reached the end of its life cycle for buses and is no longer a viable and cost-effective solution for transit signal priority going forward. Given the need to upgrade and modernize the system, OC Transpo worked closely with the city's traffic operations team in 2023 to have a feasibility study completed by a consultant. The intention of this study was to review the requirements for OC Transpo to upgrade to a GPS-based system. The study reviewed the best practices from other cities that currently use similar technologies, including Montreal and the MTA in New York City. Based on the results of the feasibility study, we are anticipating that a pilot project will commence later in 2024 or early in 2025 to begin the process of converting the transit priority system to GPS technology. This new technology is another way that OC Transpo is working to improve transit priority across the network in an effort to improve service reliability and schedule adherence. Next slide, please. The next topic that I'll be speaking about today is OC Transpo's Scheduling Clinic initiative. Next slide, please. The scheduling clinics began in the fall of 2023 as a means to connect directly with bus operators about schedules and the scheduling process. This initiative was a direct outcome of regular meetings held with union representatives on employee morale. The intent of these clinics was to make scheduling staff available to bus operators to help address any questions or comments they may have related to scheduling. These clinics have taken place at various locations. Originally, these sessions were held just at bus garages. However, based on feedback from union representatives, the clinics were expanded to include sessions held at terminus stations where bus operators take their breaks. The initial clinic series in the fall of 2023 consisted of 9 sessions. 5 more sessions were held over the winter period in early 2024, and another session is expected to occur later in the spring following the start of the spring service period. Thus far, the scheduling team has connected with approximately 40 operators and supervisors over the course of the 14 sessions in the fall and the winter, and expect to increase this number in the upcoming session. I want to point out the picture that's on this slide, where the scheduling team is meeting with an operator on one of the buses, and this was one of our early sessions where you can see we were meeting directly with the operators in their place of work on board the buses at the key locations. Based on the discussions with operators and supervisors thus far, the 3 main themes that continue to be raised on a regular basis are run times, Canada Labour Code breaks, and interlining and deadheading. More detailed information about the scheduling process will be shared with Transit Commission in April, so stay tuned for that presentation for more detail about what goes into creating schedules for OC Transpo. However, today I will elaborate briefly on these 3 main themes. Next slide, please. The first theme I'll discuss is run times. Runtimes have been one of the most common concerns raised by bus operators at the scheduling clinics. As background, runtime for many routes was removed during COVID-19, and when traffic volumes were low and when traffic volumes were low and construction projects and impacts to traffic flow were limited. However, traffic volumes have recovered in the wake of the pandemic, and this runtime must now be added back into the bus route schedules. The process to add runtime to routes requires much more staff time and input compared to the process of removing runtime. Moreover, adding time can only be done as part of one of the 4 scheduled service changes each year. The process to re-inject runtime into bus schedules in the wake of COVID-19 began in the spring of 2023. Since the process began, approximately 75 routes have had their runtime reevaluated by the scheduling team. This is a time-consuming process that requires a scheduler to conduct a detailed review of route performance to determine where along the route the additional travel time is required to produce a schedule that can be achieved consistently and reliably. In addition to the runtime evaluations that have been ongoing since last year, approximately 30 routes have had their runtimes reviewed on street by the scheduling team with representatives from ATU 279 in anticipation of the implementation of the new bus network later this year. This work to review runtimes considers the 571 unique time points across the network. Time points are essentially schedule reference points and are used to divide a route into segments where scheduled travel times can be adjusted. These time points typically occur at key points along the route, such as transitway stations, O-train stations, or major bus stops. We are expecting that there will be significant improvement in runtimes with the implementation of the new bus network. However, the optimization of runtimes will continue beyond the implementation of the new network, as the management of runtimes for a transit network is ongoing work that requires consistent management and ongoing improvement by the scheduling team. Next slide, please. The next theme from the scheduling clinics is related to Canada Labour Code breaks. In the spring of 2022, OC Transpo began implementing 30-minute breaks for bus operators as part of the federally mandated requirements for breaks as part of the Canada Labour Code. This requirement stipulates that a bus operator must take a 30-minute break for every 5 hours of consecutive work. Scheduling CLC breaks makes the process of creating schedules for buses and bus operators much more challenging, as in many cases it requires more reliefs, which is the process of handing over a bus to the next operator when the first operator goes on break. The intent of this work is to ensure that all bus operators can have their breaks while also ensuring that buses are being used as efficiently as possible. The efficiency of this process is critical, especially given limited budgets and limited number of buses and bus operators. One of the specific challenges with CLC breaks is that when a trip is operating behind schedule and arrives late to an operator's break, the operator is still entitled to a 30-minute break. This means that the operator would not be able to start their subsequent trip on time if it is scheduled to start less than 30 minutes after their arrival to their break location. In this situation, transit operations controllers can sometimes use an extra bus and operator to cover the subsequent trip, although if an extra resource is not available, this may result in the cancellation of the subsequent trip. While this situation is currently creating challenges for service delivery, managing CLC breaks will improve with the introduction of the runtime improvements that are expected as part of the new bus network, as previously described. Additional runtime will increase the likelihood of a trip ending on time, allowing the bus operator to start their break on time, and in turn, be finished their break and ready to start the subsequent trip on time. Next slide, please. Oh, my apologies. Sorry. Yes, still on the CLC. An important consideration with CLC breaks is where the break will occur, and accordingly, CLC break locations are being reviewed as part of the work for the new bus network. The review of each location considers capacity requirements, ease of operations, proximity to route terminus points, and operator facilities. This work will improve the break experience for bus operators while also ensuring that breaks can be taken efficiently with as little impact to service as possible. Of the approximately 80 CLC break locations in the new network, 55 locations have already been reviewed, while the remaining 25 locations are under review. And in fact, the number of completed reviews is likely higher than the 55 indicated on the slide, as this is an ongoing process and has likely advanced since this slide was drafted. It is important to note that the discussions occur regularly with the union about break locations. In fact, there is a specific subcommittee of our regular working group meetings with union representatives focusing on washrooms and break locations. Currently, there are 8 to 10 washroom and break locations under discussion between OC Transpo's planning staff and union representatives to address specific concerns. Next slide, please. The third theme that was raised frequently in the scheduling clinics was interlining and deadheading. The term interlining is used to describe a situation where a single bus operates trips on multiple different routes on a single block. A block is the set of routes that a single bus will complete on a given day between the time it leaves the garage and the time it returns to the garage. When a bus travels out of service between trips, or when they travel to and from the garage at the start and end of a shift, it is called deadheading. Buses do not pick up customers when they're operating out of service and deadheading between trips. As a quick example, consider a bus that leaves the garage and travels out of service to start a trip on Route 7 between Saint Laurent Station and Carleton University. Next, this bus travels from Carleton University to Greenboro to complete a trip on Route 6, from Greenboro to Rockcliffe, followed by another trip on Route 6 from Rockcliffe to Greenboro, and then that bus travels out of service from Greenboro to the garage. In this example, the block is everything that occurs between when the bus leaves the garage and when it returns to the garage and is made up of multiple trips. 1 trip on Route 7 and 2 trips on Route 6, for a total of 3 trips on this block. When this example bus travels out of service from Carleton University and to Greenboro Station, this portion of the trip is considered deadheading and is considered interlining between Route 7 and Route 6. When the bus arrives in Rockcliffe and returns for a southbound trip on Route 6 towards Greenboro, this would not be considered interlining as the 2 trips are on the same route. When this bus is traveling out of service between the garage and Saint Laurent Station and between Greenboro Station and the garage, this is also considered deadheading and the bus would not pick up customers. There are 2 main goals of interlining. The first goal is to increase efficiency. This is achieved by reducing the overall number of buses and bus operators required to provide the service, which can help to reduce costs and deliver more service to customers with the available resources. This is especially important when working with constrained budgets and limited resources. The second goal of interlining is to permit more flexibility from a vehicle type and capacity perspective. This is important as high-capacity buses, such as 60-foot articulated buses and double-decker buses, are regularly moved throughout the network to deliver service on a specific trip that requires more capacity, in a situation where an increase in frequency of service on a specific route is not warranted or not feasible within the available budget. Currently, 27% of all in-service trips are followed by a trip on a different route, and 40% of all existing blocks include 4 or more different routes. Most deadheads are short and have a duration of 5 minutes or less, accounting for approximately 72% of all deadheads. Deadheads of this duration include those which occur within the same station. A quarter of all deadheads are between 5 and 30 minutes in duration, while just 3% of deadheads are 30 minutes or more in duration. One of the goals of the ongoing scheduling work for the new bus network is to improve upon these figures and to reduce the average duration of deadheads to increase efficiency. Overall, the scheduling clinics have provided important insight into the challenges experienced by frontline staff, as well as areas for improvement. Importantly, the feedback from the scheduling clinics has been an important source of input for the ongoing work for the new bus network. Next slide, please. On the topic of the new bus network, the next thing I'll be speaking about today is the bus route review. The bus route review was part of OC Transpo's 5-year roadmap and aimed to respond to the changes in travel pattern that resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic. The route review also aimed to prepare the bus network for the expansion of the O-Train, improving connections to new and existing O-Train stations with the goal of leveraging the increased capacity and reliability of the O-Train network. In 2023, OC Transpo undertook an extensive consultation process with customers, counselors, and others in an effort to gather as much feedback as possible about the ways customers use the system and the factors that matter most to them. This process included several public open houses and information sessions, as well as extensive consultation with ward councillors. This work extended well into the fall of 2023 and the winter of 2024. Once the consultation process was complete and all of the information from the bus route review process had been gathered and processed, the work began to review and analyze each and every route to develop the detailed plans for the new bus network. The goal of this process was to transform the results of the bus route review and the other sources of input and feedback into a bus network that could be planned, scheduled, and implemented for customers. We've been calling this part of the process the network realignment. Today, I will be providing a brief update on the status of the ongoing planning and scheduling work for the network realignment. Next slide, please. Since the information was handed over from the bus route review process, there has been an immense amount of work to ensure that every detail has been considered for the new network. Staff are currently working through this process to ensure that the new network can be implemented with or shortly after the opening of O-Trains Line 2 and 4 later this year. Specifically, timetable and schedule development for the revised network is ongoing, as previously mentioned. The revised network will include improved runtimes and other scheduling optimizations to improve service reliability. It is expected that the scheduling work will continue through March and April of this year. In parallel, work is underway for the scheduling and planning of major special events for the summer 2024 service period, including Canada Day and Blues Fest. Likewise, work continues to identify all of the bus stop changes that are part of the new bus routes. Customer information will change at many bus stops. Some new bus stops will be added, which will each meet the city's accessibility standards, and some bus stops will no longer have service and will be removed. Overall, the planning and scheduling activities for the new bus network are progressing very well, taking into account all of the feedback and new information that has been received through the bus route review process, the scheduling clinics, and the service reliability program. Next slide, please. The bus route review and the network realignment are just two of the major steps in the process of the implementation of the new bus network. The third and final step in the process is the communication of the changes to customers. Accordingly, I will hand it over to Amanda Thompson, who will be providing an update on the communications campaign. Thank you.
Merci, Dan. Bonjour à tous. Today, I'll provide an update on the plan for informing customers about the new bus network and introduce you to our information campaign, New Ways to Bus. Next slide, please. So as we presented to this commission during the route review update in November, we know the success of our new bus network will depend on our customers' understanding and being prepared to use the new system. To that end, we've developed an extensive communication plan to guide our work to support customers through this network change. Next slide, please. So today, I'm very pleased to introduce you to the name of our new campaign, New Ways to Bus, en français, l'autobus réinventé. The creative approach you can see here on the screen uses OC Transpo's bus route and O-Train line colors, the distinctive red O, and familiar bus icons in a colorful and eye-catching way. The design elements are adaptable and will be applied to a wide variety of digital and print products throughout the life of our campaign. The phrase, New Ways to Bus, frequent, local, connected, highlights the changes ahead and the defining qualities of the new bus network in a concise, clear, and intuitive way. Next slide, please. So at this point, can I ask that we switch from the presentation to the video? And while that's happening, I'll just say that this short video we're about to play shows an example of how our design elements for New Ways to Bus can be animated to tell the story of the new network. Thank you. Can we go back to the presentation on the slide we were just on? Awesome. So just to finish here, these animations will be used as part of our initial communications to introduce the new bus network to our customers. And in future, we'll have other videos that will explore some of the high-level changes as well as the benefits of the new network. So then to speak to this slide here, we know that the new Ways to Bus network will change service in every neighborhood and will impact almost every transit customer in Ottawa. So this means we need to ensure we're reaching everyone, including those who are most comfortable in languages other than English or French. So here we've included the new Ways to Bus creative in both simplified Chinese as well as Arabic, which are both widely used languages in Ottawa. And we've included these visuals here to show the multilingual information will be part of our campaign as well as our outreach activities. And we will certainly be working with councillors as well as other community stakeholders to ensure the materials and resources for this campaign are available in additional languages wherever needed. Next slide, please. Another important tool that will be instrumental for our customers are maps, as customers use them to explore and gain familiarity with the new bus network. So our system map and the frequent route map, which you can see here, will soon be available on octranspo.com, and we'll have more detailed maps that will be published in the coming weeks to further assist our customers in understanding the new network. Next slide. So as we noted in our presentation in November, this information campaign will consist of 3 phases as we approach the start date for the new bus network. Each phase will add to the scope and scale of our campaign to support customers in both understanding and using the network. So right now we're in the first phase, and in this phase we are introducing the new Ways to Bus network and providing customers with an opportunity to explore information and to ask questions. Later this week, we'll be sharing high-level information about the network on octranspo.com, including the new system map and our frequent route map, and there will also be a list of route-by-route changes. We will certainly also have regular social media content, and we are launching a new blog series on the Next Stop blog, where we'll dig into some of the details of the new network and also go behind the scenes. So as part of this phase, we will also be providing councillors with resources and tools in order to support you and all of your communications with your community. And then finally, our team is also ready to answer any questions from customers. And we have a new dedicated email address as part of this campaign, which is newwaystobus@ottawa.ca. And because we're at an early phase of this campaign, we know we aren't able to answer everyone's questions right away. So we're encouraging customers to call or to email us if they want to learn more about their unique trip. At that point, we'll move into our second phase of our campaign, which will start in mid to late April. And at this point, our focus will be on preparing our customers for the network and the change that's ahead. We'll be publishing a full suite of information and tools online that will share additional neighborhood-specific information. And because there are so many changes to make at thousands of bus stops across the city, customers can expect to see some minor changes to on-street information beginning at this point. The most important tool that will launch as this part of this phase will be our new travel planner, which will give customers the ability to preview their trips and look at detailed schedules for their routes. We know this is going to be the best way for customers to understand what their whole journey will look like, and will answer many of the remaining questions that customers may have. At this point too, we will also be leveraging the Transit app to reach our riders by placing banner notifications within the app that will link back to other information on octranspo.com. Transit app has been a great partner thus far to us, and we know that other cities have been very successful in advertising changes to their bus systems using the app. And this is also the stage where we will begin our in-person outreach across the city. Our strategy for outreach will place our team at multiple locations across the city as we want to meet customers where they are. And this will also include working with our important community stakeholders like colleges and universities. In the final phase, we expect will begin about 6 to 8 weeks before the launch of the new network. And at that point, we'll be focusing on guiding our customers through the changes to the new network and providing them with the resources and assistance they need to complete their trip. There will certainly be prominent features on octranspo.com and across other digital platforms. And at this point, we will also launch a multi-channel paid advertising campaign. At this time, customers can expect that we'll be making major changes to on-street information, and we'll have print information combined with customer outreach at stops and stations across the system to help support customers as this transition happens. We're also very excited that at this point we'll be working with Transit app on an enhanced New Ways to Bus preview tool, which will be similar to our travel planner, and customers using the app will be able to switch over to view the new network within the app and get a preview of their journey. Phase 3 of New Ways to Bus, L'autobus réinventé, will be coordinated with the campaign for the opening of O-Train lines 2 and 4, which will happen at the same time and is an important feature of the overall transit network. It's through all of these efforts that we will ensure that OC Transpo customers are strongly supported before, during, and after the new network is implemented. Thank you, merci. Je vais maintenant laisser la parole à René.
I'll now give the floor back to Renee. Thank you, Amanda.
Chair, with your permission, I would like to correct a slight mistake that I made this morning. I forgot to introduce Ali Reza. He was with us in the front, but I forgot to read his bio. So I would like him to stand up, please. My apologies, Ali Reza, it's, oh my goodness. So for the past 19 years, Ali Reza has worked at OC Transpo in various roles and is currently the program manager of technical support with transit engineering services. Throughout his career at OC Transpo, he has made many memories. One of his favorite experiences was presenting the first articulated bus to City Council in August 2010. I want to acknowledge as well that Ali Reza is playing a very important role on the maintenance action plan. Thank you very much, Ali Reza. Forgive me, please. Next slide, please. We have provided a lot of information today, and we have more important updates planned for meetings this spring. At the April Transit Commission meeting, we will provide a scheduling overview and progress updates on our 5-year roadmap. We will also share information regarding the root cause and the sustainable solution to the axle bearing. Also, preliminary results from the Fair Compliance Initiative will be shared. Updates on Stage 2 LRT work will also be provided at an upcoming Light Rail Subcommittee meeting. We have busy months ahead. I would like now to open the floor to questions. Thank you very much.
Merci, Renee. Thank you, Renee, and to the entire team. Lots going on at OC Transpo, as always. We have one and maybe two delegations who have signed up to speak today. Our first delegation is Catherine Gardner, and I think Catherine is online. Yes, she is. Welcome, Catherine. You have 5 minutes today to address the committee.
Thank you very much. And to Chair, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. My name is Catherine Gardner. I'm a Power Transpo user. And at the beginning of this presentation, we were told that Power Transpo has the tap machines on all the vehicles. At the present time, or since the machines came out, a number of them are not working. A number of them are not on the buses. And right now, a number of us are getting charged for people. If we have a companion with us and they cannot tap their pass or their Presto card that has money on it, we are getting charged for our companions. We are being denied access to trips. Last week, I tried to make a trip with a friend of mine, and it was at that time that we found out that she had an arrears of $30. This was an arrears caused by her companion not being able to tap their card. We're not trying to get free access to Power Transpo, but we should not be paying for our companions, or we should not be paying for if the machines are not on the buses or if they're not working. If I go on OC Transpo and the machine is not working, you don't pay. I use a bus pass on my para. If I log in there, it will show that I have a bus pass, but I'm also showing that I have an arrears of $13.40. I am being charged for a time when my companion came with me and was not able to tap their card. I have a friend that, my friend was supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, she had an appointment to keep and she hasn't made it back yet. But another friend has ParaPay. On the ParaPay, it clearly states that you are not allowed to pay your companion's fare using your ParaPay. However, OC Transpo Paratranspo is taking the money off their accounts. Last week, I tried to go on OC Transpo or Paratranspo with my friend. She was told that she owed money. She had to pay. I had paid $50 for her not that long ago. When I went on to the ParaPay for her account, it shows that she has been charged, and Paratranspo has taken the money off of her ParaPay, which clearly states that we're not allowed to pay for companions using that method. Para is going to be losing money by us not paying for our fares. I am not going to pay that $13.40. It's not my fare to pay. I am suggesting that the machines be taken off the buses. This may seem like a step backwards. I'm one of the first ones to advocate for these machines to be on the buses. But in order for Paratranspo and the clients to be able to pay properly, I am suggesting that these machines be taken off the buses until 100% of them can be working order, and that we go back to paying cash and having our bus passes on Presto registered with Paratranspo. This is going to be the only way that I can see that the fares will be paid properly. We should not be paying for other people. We should not be told that when we're looking on my para to see where our bus is, that you've been suspended. You should not be told at the last minute when you're trying to make a booking with somebody on the phone that, sorry, you can't make a trip because you owe money. This all came out about because I was trying to make an online booking last week. My friend and I both use walkers. We both have service dogs. When I go online, I can book my companion, either her service dog or her walker. I cannot book both. So it was when I had to call Paratranspo and talk to somebody on the phone that I found out that these arrears were in place. I thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Councillor Lowe has a question for you.
Thanks, Catherine. Thank you for your delegation. And that was actually, you answered my question right at the end there. Like, has there been any other ways of finding out that you have arrears in your accounts other than when you went and called them to try to book a trip?
The only way is to go online. If everybody has a Paratranspo ParaPay, and I am suggesting to all Paratranspo users to go on and see if they are in arrears. We're only finding out by going on or being told at the last minute that you can't make a trip. And I have never, ever heard that we should not be able to make a trip just because we're in arrears.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for your delegation, and I'm sure this will generate some questions for staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I know you had emailed several councillors last week as well with your concerns, so we'll get staff to address this when we get to our questions for staff here in the meeting. So I'm seeing no more questions. Thank you very much for joining us today. And Eric, I just wanted to check, do we have another delegations? Okay, thank you. So that concludes our delegations. Maybe I'll ask OC Transpo staff if they can comment or give us any other context to the issues that were raised by our delegation today.
Chair Pat is here. I would ask him to come and he will update you on that.
Thanks, Renee. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're certainly interested and disappointed to hear of these problems that Ms. Gardner has relayed this morning. We'll have our team reach out to her, understand the problems in more specific detail, find where there are gaps in our systems and processes, and we will fix those.
Okay, thank you. Are staff aware in general of any widespread issues about payment on paratransport buses?
We know that there have been some power supply problems to some of the tablets that are used on buses and taxis. Those have largely been resolved. We are replacing the tablets gradually with newer readers on our minibuses, but the depth of the problems that Ms. Gardner's relayed to us, we're going to have to talk to her more to understand them and look into them.
Okay, thank you very much. There may be some more questions later, but let's go to councillors. Councillor Brockington was first up.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to you, and thanks, staff, for the detailed presentation. Always appreciated. I do want to start with questions relating to the Trillium line opening. My understanding is the 2024 budget was built with estimates that the line was going to open in April. And I'm trying to understand what the budget ramifications are, given that the Trillium line is going to be open past April. What are the net costs associated with delaying the Trillium line opening to the operating budget of OC Transpo?
Chair, for the Trillium line, we have said spring, and I remember one of the councillors has asked me which month in spring. I said April, but unfortunately it will not be April, but we're still on spring. And the budget that we will not use to open the Trillium line will save it as on the economy that we would supposed to do with the route review. So it's a balanced budget for now. So until we open the Trillium line, we won't save the saving on the route review. So we'll balance. As soon as we will be able to open the Trillium line, we'll come back and we'll update you on the budget.
Yeah, my understanding is that the route review does have a net savings overall for OC Transpo, and so if you delay the implementation of the route review, then you're not realizing those savings. So for every month that the Trillium line doesn't open, and because we are coordinating our route review changes with the opening of the Trillium line, to me, that means there's going to be additional costs. So that's a concern for me.
Chair, I will not say, because it's a balance. So what we're using now, we don't save it because the Trillium line is not open. So when we will open the Trillium line, we'll save money because of the route review. So for now, it's a net zero, I would say. I don't know if it's clear.
Okay. At the LRT subcommittee, the very last briefing, we were told that the Trillium line was delayed because we had 3 more months of operator training and then 3 to 4 weeks of end-to-end testing. So that would be March, April, May for operator training, and then June for end-to-end testing. So we are not expecting the Trillium line opening until at least the summer of 2024. Is that correct?
Chair, we'll come back with an update. For now, the training goes very well, and we still try to run the system as we can to make sure that we can debug things. And I think you will be agreed with me that we don't want another unfortunate story similar as the Confederation line. So we'll open the system when we will be ready. But for now, I'm confident that could be for this spring, as I have already said.
Okay, fair enough. You had a slide that indicated factors that contribute to bus service delivery challenges. Not enough bus operators, on-street adjustments, mechanical issues, no buses. 1 in 5 service delivery issues are mechanical challenges with the buses. Can someone just explain to me, that number seems quite high to me. What are the mechanical issues and what are you doing to ensure that this is addressed?
I will speak French, Chair, and maybe I can ask someone else to explain it after that. Alors, c'est important ici de comprendre
It's important here to understand that for February, it was a great month at 98.7 service delivery. So we just have 1.3 to get. 1.3 is not much. As Councillor Brockington just said, there were adjustments because we had mechanical issues, which always is happening. It's not the first time. It's just that for now, we are recruiting more, like my colleague Olivia showed you. We have an action plan that's very aggressive for the past 3 years, and we're starting to have great results. As for the traffic, we were lucky this year with the nice winter we had. So we were able to cut some service. We didn't have to cut service because of too much snow or ice storm. So there were things that didn't happen by the past, but I think it's good news because when we talk about these problems, these issues, it's because the major factors have been eliminated. As an example, if someone is sick in the bus, we have to remove that bus from service. If we have a problem with a door that's not closing properly, we have to put that bus away. So this is what we call mechanical issues. It's things that force us to withdraw that bus from service. So when that happens, to minimize the impact on clients, we have additional buses, but with additional operators in strategic places, and they must be included in the service so that we can settle the problem on the bus that's been withdrawn. And we will be giving you some more explanation over the course of the year, but take this as a positive aspect, is because we're just addressing now major issues, and slowly but surely, there's always other issues that are coming up.
You said February was a good month overall, that bus breakdowns happen, I wouldn't say all the time, but bus breakdowns are part of what happens with buses. And perhaps because the number of breakdowns is small in the grand scheme of things, that may be why the percentage looks higher. Is that a fair summary?
Chair, it's just because we are very good with the bus count and with the bus drivers' availability. That's why you see those small things happen.
Okay, the last point, Chair, I'm going to raise now is just, I want to go back to the on-time performance, which again, for everyone's benefit, is different than the bus service delivery, the data that you provide us. The on-time performance data is more or less static this month compared to last. You've got two metrics. You measure bus frequency less than every 16 minutes and bus frequency higher than 16 minutes. And it's the bus frequency higher than 16 minutes, that seems to be the most challenging for you right now at 66%. And yes, the presentation said we're doing a little bit better compared to last year. That's true, but we're still at 66%. So can you, and I'm going to ask you this again because I asked you this question last month, come back to the commission and give us an outline, in addition to what you've provided today, on how we're targeting on-time performance and what your strategic plan is, in particular, to ensure that bus reliability is being addressed consistently you're aware of all the factors that contribute and threaten on-time performance, but as you know, this is what is eroding the public trust and confidence, I think, one of the main factors with bus service. So if you could address that now, I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair. I will start and I will ask François Kirouet to jump in anytime after. So, okay, let's try to understand things. First, the service delivery is the measure of, let's take an example. We have 8,000 trips per day. We are committed to deliver 99.5% of those trips per day. So that means we cannot miss more than 40, 50 trips, which is very, very, very an aggressive goal, but we can make it. So this is the service delivery. Before to talk about the on-time performance, we have to secure our bus delivery. Because when we don't have enough buses, when we don't have enough bus drivers, obviously when we have to deal with the traffic, etc., and we don't have any buffer to address those issues as traffic, as mechanical issues, as you just said, Councillor. So when we don't have sufficient buses and bus drivers to address those things, it's hard to commit on the on-time performance because we will just try to deliver the service. Now we are very close to achieve our 99.5. We can start thinking about the on-time performance. And for routes that will offer 15 minutes and plus, we'll try to continue to measure the on-time performance because it's important. Because let's say if we have a bus every 20 minutes, if you miss the first one, you will wait a lot of time. However, if you have a bus every 5 minutes, we will measure what we call the regularity. It's not good to measure the on-time performance with frequent routes because, as an example, if you have a bus every 5 minutes, the first one, let's say it's late and it arrived 4 minutes late, you don't want another bus 1 minute later. So we will deliberately work with the bus drivers, with the control room, to delay the second one, the third one, the fourth one, etc. And then we will achieve probably our every 5 minutes, but all of them will be late. But we don't care because it's the regularity which is important here, and will be on time. So that's why François Kirouet, who's working with his team, will try to do his best, no pressure, François, to find a way to measure that regularity so we can present it to you at Transit Commission. However, we are not ready, we are not here yet, so that's why we want to be 100% transparent with you, so we bring it as we used to here, on-time performance. But frankly, today, I'm not shy to say, for routes who are very, very frequent, don't even have a look on the on-time performance. That doesn't make anything for our customers. Our customers have a better service than what you see on the chart. But again, it's just because we wanted to bring something to you. We want to make sure that you have full transparency here. So that's why we are continuing to present that to you, but we will do our best to, for sure, at the end of this year, we'll have this regularity.
No, I appreciate that. And Chair, I'll just say that I think as transit commissioners, we all have a responsibility to say to our GM, this is a top priority for us. We expect, with everything else that's happening, that this will be made a priority by you and your team, and that we want to see some metrics here. By the end of this calendar year, that 66% should be 70. And for 2025, your target should be 75%. And your job is to come back to us and say, I need more money because I need to hire more operators. I know what the factors are that are contributing to on-time performance challenges, and here they are, and here's what it's going to cost. So if our public has said this is a top priority, and we collectively make this a priority for you, you tell us what you need, we will deliver. But if we don't establish performance targets, if we don't establish benchmarks to get us up to from 66% to 70 to 75 and create a plan, we're just going to talk about this every month. So it's not a criticism, it's just I'm articulating my expectations, right? This will always be an issue. And unless we put the resources that we need into it and we deliver, it will always be an issue, and we can't have that happen. So I'm restating that. It requires a motion in a month or two. I will work on that. Certainly sit down with you, Madame. But again, over and over again, bus reliability is a top priority for our public, and we need to put the resources in there to back that up. So thank you.
Councillor Menard.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation from staff today. It's nice to get that, and I want to go back to just some simple questions, carrying on with Councillor Brockington, what he was asking, and I'm hoping just for simple answers back if possible. What's the number one reason why we don't have enough buses?
Chair, it was this problem was occurred in the past for many reasons. A good reason that I can bring here, it's we know that we're supposed to retire a lot of buses, and unfortunately, we had to delay the e-bus program. So because of that, we have to deal with a lot of old buses. However, I would say since the beginning of February, we saw that we have improved a lot our capacity to have the bus count, and we don't have this issue anymore, but we're still working on our action plan because we know that we can do better for sure. And that's why we saw that the reliability of this month, last month in February, was 98.7% versus 97% we used to say in the past, which is a fantastic result.
Thank you for that, Chair. I guess the infrequent routes at 60%, 66% on-time performance is a big concern. Because as you're saying, those frequent routes, they're at about 75% now, but they happen regularly. And the infrequent routes, if somebody, that on-time performance is at 66%, that's a concern for residents that are, is it switched? Yeah, okay. So it's 75 for infrequent, 66 for frequent. I guess that's a concern for people that may be waiting an extra hour for that. If they miss their half-hour bus, they might wait an extra half hour to get on. So they're waiting an hour for their bus. The next simple question I have is just why don't we have enough drivers? What's the main? I know we've been trying to hire for 2 years now, really. I've been getting messages from some drivers that have been let go recently. And, I hear from them that, they were good drivers. They've been let go from the service now, and not sure why, but they're not there anymore. And so what's the problem here? Why don't we have enough drivers? If you're saying that's 40% of the issue is driver not being available, what's the disconnect here?
Chair, I think at the next TC, I will try to explain better with some schema what is the on-time performance for less frequent routes versus very frequent routes. And because it's important to understand, and again, when we have frequent routes, let's say every 5 minutes, the on-time performance is not very important because those buses will arrive very, very quickly. So the cost, that will be transparent for the customer if the bus is late. The only thing is maybe the first bus could be late and we will delay the other one. And every 5 minutes you will have a bus. So the regularity here is very important, but I know it's complex. I will find a way to explain it next time. For the bus drivers, we are not that bad this year, I would say, because the action plan that we have put in place for the last 3 years works very well. We are very happy for that. It's still a challenge. It's worldwide. We know that staffing, it's a huge problem everywhere, and we have to have bus drivers for the Trillium line. Those people will become DROs, diesel rail operator, and we have attritions. We have people who can have another job, people who will leave us, etc. But so far, I would say this year we are very, very good on that as well. We're performing very well, and I'm very happy on what I'm saying. And we continue to move forward with our action plan that works very well. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be looking for, I guess, that 40% number to change, and that 10% number to change. Then, if things we're progressing well in February, we're saying, and that we're on the right track, that's great. But as Councillor Brockington has said, we need to see those metrics to say, here's the truth of the matter, and we want to see improvements. And if we're not seeing improvements, then the basics of what we can do to see improvements is important. The LRT root cause analysis, I'm wondering how many outstanding root cause incident analysis are there that remain right now?
Chair, as I said, I think it will be in May. We should come with RTG and RTM to present the root cause. It's hard to say how many pending items. It's a global root cause that we are looking for. So RTG will present the root cause to the Transit Commission, and with the sustainable solution for sure to resolve that problem.
So in May, we'll get all the analysis back for every root cause analysis that we've been waiting on from the last, I guess, couple of years where we've seen some major incidents. Is that what you're saying?
Can you please repeat your question, please?
Because there's a number of outstanding root cause analysis on the LRT with stage 1. And we've been waiting for, in some cases, years to get those back. About what the actual root cause was. So I'm wondering, I guess, like, how many are we waiting on? And when will we get the root cause analysis finally back to the public, to commission?
Okay, Chair, I understood better. Okay, so I will need to verify with the engineering department if we still have pending issues, but I thought you were talking about the bearing issue. So for the bearing issue, we'll come with RTG and RTM, I think it's in May, to present the root cause and the sustainable solution. And the engineering department normally comes here and update you on pending actions. We will verify if we still have some, and we'll for sure share them with you.
Okay, thanks. I'll look forward to that May meeting, and then getting hopefully an answer on the other ones before stage 2 launches, which there could be some parallel issues. So what is the status of the transit advisory working group? We had, as the council said, this is going to, we don't have public commissioners on this commission anymore. We said that was going to take over. It's been, I guess, what are we in now, Chair? 18 months. So I think people have submitted their applications for that months ago. Where are we at with the Transit Advisory Working Group, and when will it be launched?
Chair Barty will update you on that one.
Thank you, Chair. So we did receive approximately 390 applications. Our business support services team has gone through them. We've provided a final list of recommendations. We've conducted some information interviews with the the short list of candidates, and we're at a point now where we can present it to Renee and to Chairs Gower and DeRoche to have a conversation. There was a commitment that the final decision would be made in consultation with the two transit-related chairs. And then after that, we should be in a position to provide a memo to council announcing the final slate of candidates, the official selection, and then we'll hold our first meeting immediately afterwards. So I expect that to happen within the next few weeks.
Okay, and just on that topic, good to hear about the next few weeks. We had talked about having some specific groups that are already invested in transit. They understand the issues, things like the transit riders folks, people that are already on the union, people like students who are number one transit users in the city and 1/8 of the population of Ottawa, having student representative. So is that part of those discussions for the working group based on the council discussions previously? Are we going to have those representatives as part of that, or are we just talking individual members of the public that are applying without necessarily positions within these organizations that are important for transit knowledge and information?
So Chair, that was certainly part of the discussion and the consideration that took place. So I can say that the final slate of potential candidates include students, members of the LGBTQ+ community, Indigenous representatives, racialized members. There was a direction from council that the final group include a majority of individuals who identify as either female or trans, and we've achieved that. So, there was a consideration within the people who applied to add members who belong to certain stakeholder groups. At the end of the day, we believe that we have a very strong slate of candidates who reflect a wide diversity of views. At the same time, we've also started having regular meetings with the union to look at issues affecting our staff directly. We have meetings directed to improving morale. So I think we are doing a good job generally of consulting with various stakeholder groups, but I hope that answers your question.
Okay, that's helpful. I just hope that we had that good discussion at council about how that group would be formed when public commissioners were no longer going to be here. And I think hopefully reflecting back to that discussion that council had and the suggestions councilors had, we make that a reality on this new working group, which I hope is, meets regularly and has the support of staff in their deliberations. I have other questions, Chair, and I get back on the list if you'd like. I know the other councillors want to ask, commissioners want to ask questions. The last one maybe before I get back on is the bridge connecting Vincent Massey with Carleton University. I know that this has been delayed for some time now. We are, it's an exciting project to get, students connected, other potential housing options for folks getting to school, and then also just the use of it potentially for the winter. With the potential ski trail and obviously just the connectivity that it'll represent. Huge, potentially fantastic project. So we understand now that there's electrical hookup to do and a top layer weathering coating. But again, we've been waiting since not this past December, the December before that to potentially open it. So people are really chomping at the bit. They don't want to miss another spring and summer when it's going to be heavily utilized. So can we say that this is going to open sometime in the spring now, or are we still unsure about any timelines for opening that bridge?
Chair, I don't know if Michael is online. He was here, he left, unfortunately. I think he answered this question during the last LRT committee, and it's the same answer, unfortunately, we still have.
Okay, I think the one thing I'll just mention is we need timelines, Chair. There's got to be some timelines to say the coating on top's going to take a month. The last electrical work is going to take a week. And then around this date, we're going to have an opening. I mean, I think that's fair to ask for, given how long it's been delayed. We just need basic timelines, Madame Emelkart, to make sure that we can communicate to the public who are chomping at the bit now to have this open. So we can say approximately this month, that's when we're looking at just for this bridge to open up. So thanks, Chair. I'll get it back on if there's other questions.
Okay, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, we're still going to be on the service reliability stuff. My first question is in the chart that shows the most canceled routes in the city, The numbers, other than the R2, the numbers are significantly different, right? It's Route 75 and Route 39 now, whereas it used to be 6, 11, 12, 85 and all of these. So while it's encouraging to see perhaps we're improving on the other routes, I'm hoping that, I'm really hoping that we're not diverting resources from the 75 and the 39 to cover trips on the 12 and the 11 and all those routes. Like, I'm not trying to start a battle with any of you guys here. Oh, you guys are all on those routes. Anyway, is that what's happening, or are we actually getting better at running the routes that used to be in that chart?
That's a great question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We're getting closer and closer to our 99.5% target, so we're hitting that 98.7, and that's across the board. That's affecting all the routes. So you're not seeing, we're not canceling some routes to see other routes pop up and be better at that point. We're maintaining our, we haven't changed our priority system in terms of how we manage service. It's just at this point we're seeing, improvements as a result of all the work that's gone into with regards to the maintenance in our buses as well as the recruitment. So those improvements there are having that domino effect and affecting our ability to provide more and more trips, less and less cancellations, and that's across the board.
Okay. No, I understand at some point, some other routes will probably graduate into that chart when we improve the 75, right? The next question then is the scheduling clinics, I think it's called. Those are really interesting, and I wish those were available when I was an operator, because the transit SIR process sometimes seems like you're driving into a wall, figuratively. 40 operators is not, it's kind of a drop in the bucket, honestly speaking, and I'm not trying to demean the process or diminish the work that's being done there. Are there, how much communications is there to make operators aware that such a clinic does exist?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor, we have been working with our communications group to communicate the clinics to operators to make that aware to them. There has been a bulletin sent out to share the information about when and where the clinics would be held. We'll be working with them through the spring session to make sure that information is spread as widely as possible, to make sure that the operators know how to reach us. We do want to make sure that information is very clear and very prominent to increase that number and really maximize the number of operators that we can reach out to.
Okay, thank you. And during those clinics, understanding that the scheduling staff are probably talking to operators during that clinic, do they ever make their own observations as well? Like if they see such and such, say they're sitting at, I don't know, Lincoln Fields, and they see a bus pull in, the operator's running, hunched over, grabbing his bladder into the washroom, then back out, they're driving off. Like, do they make observations like that as well on their own?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the intention of the scheduling clinics is to get very specific feedback, to hear from the operators, not just about the broad topics that are of concern, but specific situations. Many of the operators who have arrived to the clinics have brought very detailed information about their work to talk about exactly the problems that they're experiencing, whether it's related to a very specific runtime or a specific trip. So we do get into that level of detail with the operators who arrive to the clinics.
Okay, so going a little further into that, one of the other components of the process is the SIR, the service improvement requests. At least my own experience has been, a lot of what gets addressed is done sort of on an ad hoc basis for that booking only, because those are the resources you have. It's understandable. How often, I don't imagine you may have a number in front of you, but how often do those ad hoc one-time changes become permanent when you're designing the next or the booking thereafter?
Thank you, Chair. When we're working through the information in the SIRs, the topics, I'll say, span a lot of different areas, but when it relates to the schedules or modifying trips, that is information that we use to feed into subsequent bookings and subsequent schedules. We do want to make sure that information isn't lost in the process as we transition between bookings. As I mentioned in my presentation, we're working on a sort of an upgrade to the SIR process that will improve the ways that we track and monitor SIRs, that will help to make sure that information isn't lost as we switch between bookings. So that is something that we're we're constantly looking at and we're hoping to improve as we go forward.
Okay. And could I get possibly I guess, a further definition of the time point optimization process?
Thank you, Chair. The time points are used to identify how the route is broken up and how the scheduled time is added. And that process is essentially, the scheduler goes through the route and identifies where along the route the runtime is required. It's not simply a runtime that's added to the overall route. It's added to a specific segment to make sure that the route can continue to operate reliably and on schedule in that specific segment based on the factors and considerations that affect that piece of the route. So as we go through the new work for the new network, it's identifying where those time points are and making sure that the time allocated to each segment created by each of the time points is accurate and can be achieved reliably.
And as part of that process to also review what our time points actually are, because again, going on memory, like Bank and Gladstone was a time point going northbound, and there is no way you can stop there if you're on a 6 or 7 early. Yes, those buses can run early too. And yeah, so is part of that process to also review what our time points are concurrently with the amount of time allocated between each one?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that is part of the work that we're doing. We're looking at all of our terminus points as well as the time points, and that's work that the scheduling team is going through as we speak. We'll make note of the Bank and Gladstone location and check that as we go through our review as well. But certainly it is something that we have been working through to make sure that the time points are suitable for what they need to do, what operators need to do at those locations, and making sure that they're conducive to the way the route operates.
Okay, and I do hope that some of that is communicated by operators through those clinics and SIRs as well. And Bank and Gladstone's not the only time point that's sort of like that. There are also some routes with time points that are concurrent subsequent stops from each other, right? You have a time point, you go one stop, and that's the next time point. And sometimes that is a challenge because then an operator might choose to leave that second time point early because there's not enough run time to the third time point. So I hope that is all stuff that will be reviewed, and even if not now, then at least for the route realignment that comes out with Line 2, because I truly think that's sort of our last chance to really regain the public trust that's been lost over the last 5-ish years or more. Okay, I'll get off that train. The last question, I sort of want to get some clarification on a question that Councillor Brockington had earlier about the net zero you were mentioning about budget. I partially understood the answer, therefore partially didn't. So I'm going to sort of summarize it in how I understand it and see if that's correct or not. So the costs of operating a Trillium line are higher. Any train line is going to be higher than operating buses, plus the redesigned bus network, which saves us money. The money saved by realigning the bus network goes to the increased costs of the Trillium line. So with the delay in the Trillium line, that money doesn't have to be moved over, and therefore it balances with how much it costs to run the current bus network.
Almost there, Chair. So, Pat, please.
Thanks, Renee. Mr. Chair, in rough numbers, O-Train lines 2 and 4 will cost about $20 million a year to run. The bus route changes that are coming out of the new ways to bus and the route review will save about $10 million a year. For every month or every week or every day that the opening of lines 2 and 4 is delayed from the day that's in the budget, we will save some of our operating costs, some of our new costs to operate the train, and we will miss our opportunity to save costs from the bus route changes. The result of those, because not all of the dollars that we're spending on, that we will be spending on line 2 and 4 are currently savable, but all of the payments that we've been making to the builder and maintainer are savable. And so month by month, the savings from not having to spend those increased costs on running the train largely offset the savings that we're not achieving from not yet making the bus route changes.
Okay, I'll email you if I need further clarification, because I think we could hash that language all day. I'm going to let Councillor Menard go, and then I'll hop back on if I have to.
Councillor Menard.
Okay, thanks very much, Chair. Thanks for the second round. Just the LRT Stage 2 launch schedule is an exciting time for the city. I think it really represents, excuse me, as Councillor Lowe was mentioning, just the loss of trust that we've seen over the years. This is a chance to reset the system and I think gain back some trust and really promote the launch of that Stage 2, along with 26 new zero-emission buses, hopefully an improved, on-time performance and hiring and additional buses that are coming. So just a lot of potential to be positive about the transit system and to get back on it around that time. And I don't want to miss that opportunity as a city, because a lot of people are just saying, I'm not going to use transit again because of what we've just been through for so long with the launch of Stage 1 and where we've been with our bus service. But this is a real chance to get things like service access to the new Stage 2 line, promotional fares, promotion in general to get back on. How are you asking people to say, look, for a day out of the week, don't take your car, jump on the train because it's going to be right there for you. We're going to get you there quickly and to your destination. There's a huge potential here. So I just want to know that we're planning for that. We're ready for that. We have a plan in place coming to promote not just the launch, but getting people back on the train, making them try it again through some type of incentive. So just to question you, what is the plan now, or when will we see, I guess, that plan, which I'm hoping is a real positive news story for the city because we really need one. So.
Chair, yeah, you're bang on because, and I think Amanda shared with us a little bit the plan, with the new ways to bus. So we will try to attract more people and they will come to try the system. And maybe, Amanda, you can jump in, but we have a plan on that and we will keep you updated when we will be ready. But definitely we have that on our radar.
I don't know if you want to add any more. I saw the graphics. The graphics look fine and look good. I think it's an improvement over saying route review, for example, but just, I guess I'm looking for more. So if you're going to get somebody to take the transit instead of what they normally do, it's going to take more than a graphic, right? So I guess I want to know, are you planning for things like incentives to take the train, incentives to get on the buses that'll connect up to that train? Eventually, we might have things like a bike share in the city that connect up easily in the suburbs and the urban area. We have new zero-emission buses. There's a lot of positives that could come. So I guess I'll put it out there. I don't need an answer now, Chair, but we need, I think, more than just a promotional campaign. We need some incentives that come with it, some fair promotion, things like that. So really hoping we can get there. I know we will, but just to put it there, that I think the public will benefit from our work in that regard. I want to move on to the on-demand service, just really briefly. We saw that on-demand service take place. I guess there was 82 trips since the launch on Sunday, February 11th. And I guess that would be count up to March 10th. So it'll be about 9 days, I guess, on the weekends that would have been running on our calculations on the Sunday. So I just want to compare that to what we replaced, which was the Route 28. Because it looks like we were having about 9 trips per day on the on-demand service. Am I right about that, or is it less than that or more than that?
Mr. Chair, it has varied. We had a high of 40 trips. On the first weekend, we had a low of 0 trips one day when there was really bad sleet. But normally it's 10 or 15 trips a day, which is about 2 to 3 times higher than the previous ridership on Route 28.
Okay.
Which was averaging about 6 trips a day.
Perfect. That's what I want to get at, is just the comparison to that Route 28. Obviously how often it ran. And so the more, I think, information we can get on that comparison, the better. For the future, because we want to make sure this is obviously a success if we're bringing something like that in that area. So appreciate hearing that information back. Is there anything else that compares to that Route 28 that you want to mention, just that you're seeing positives, negatives, anything else on that on-demand service?
So you saw there in the presentation from Francois some positive info. I think no, it was René. Positive information: 93% on time for the trips that are booked, and even for the ones that were not on time, they were within 3 minutes of their time. Our next major step is to expand to Saturdays. We have to do more work with the software vendor. Saturdays will be just a larger operational challenge for us. We get our feet under us with the Sunday move to Saturdays because current ridership on Saturdays is about 10 or 20 times higher than it is on Sundays. So instead of dealing with 6 or 10 or 12 or 40 people, we might be dealing with 100 or 120 trips per day on a Saturday.
Okay.
So that will come as soon as we can get ready for it.
Okay, thanks for that information back. I just want to extend a personal story. It's a resident, and I just wanted to just go through his story, what he's been experiencing. But we have a resident who lives in Heron Park and works downtown and doesn't own a car by choice. He relies on the 6 Greenboro to get home. Unfortunately, we're hearing from him that many of the 6s that run from downtown, they end at Billings. It cuts off a part of our ward, just the way the ward is from downtown. But it's really when there's a delay or cancellation or a full bus that's made his trip home take more than 1.5 hours. And that's just downtown to an area of Capital Ward. Because the Route 6 that ends at Billings doesn't get him home. If there's a cancellation for a Route 6 Billings, then this will then pack the subsequent Route 6 Greenboro to capacity. So it's not just a problem of the 6 to Greenboro being canceled, it's any Route 6 being canceled and not having enough buses that will go all the way to Greenboro. So he wants to ride the bus. I guess the lack of services is concerning him, and wants to stay on transit, which we should be promoting as much as possible. So I guess my questions are, how do we decide to run shortened routes, especially when we're seeing cancellations to connect up? So buses get canceled, especially during high peak times. How do we ensure that we maintain that proper service for the full route and accounting for those knock-on effects of canceling the shortened routes or on full routes?
I can talk, Mr. Chair, I can talk about the scheduling of the service, and then Troy might be able to say a little bit more about what the control room does in case of operational difficulties. There are some routes in the city where ridership is not uniform over the full length of the route. So Route 6 is an example where there's many more people traveling north of Lansdowne, north of Sunnyside, north of Billings Bridge than on the section south of there. Route 11, where there's more people traveling on the area east of Lincoln Fields than there are between Lincoln Fields and Bayshore. Route 75, where there's more people traveling between Baseline Station and Tunney's, or Barhaven Centre than Tunney's, than there are all the way from Cambrian. So it might be that every second bus goes the full way, or 2 out of every 3 goes the full way. And that's done in order to turn the buses around and beef up the service on those busy parts of the route, such as 6 and 7 on Bank Street through Old Ottawa South of the Glebe and Centretown. If there is a bus that's not able to deliver its trip, whether it's for any of those reasons we talked about, a mechanical problem, a bus not available out of the garage, an operator not available, or an on-street disruption, that could be happening anywhere at any time, and then the control center then springs into action to put a bus in to cover that trip as quickly as possible. And the numbers you see are the remaining trips that were not covered after the control center tried to solve every problem they could. So Troy might be able to say a little bit more about how they manage short trips versus long trips.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. We've talked in the past about the prioritization of trips within the control center. That's one of the things that we look very, very closely at. So, first and last trips of the day, trips in which, service hospitals, school routes, but as well as those trips in which they're wider headways, so they're not as frequent, and or customers have limited transportation options. There are other routes that they could take. So when the control center is forced with some of those situations where, say, a trip is impacted that isn't running that frequent or has less opportunities for the customers, they are looking as much as possible to supplement that reallocate a bus to that route, even if it means running that trip late. So I know that there are circumstances where sometimes it appears to a customer that, a trip may have been canceled, when in fact, we by the time we got a replacement bus there, the trip actually ran, but it ran late. But that is some of our priorities in which the control center is looking at. Pat talked about long trips. Those ones are, obviously high ridership, impact a lot of people. So that's part of our sort of a queuing of trips that we need to look at too as well, is frequency, usage, and then as I said, like the first and last trips, school trips, those types of things. So definitely is it's part of the response that our control center has. And every single day it changes depending on what we're reacting to and responding to. And as we have more resources, as the bus operator issues have been addressed, as the mechanical issues are becoming less and less impactful, our control center has more resources to be able to reallocate and respond. And that's another reason why you're seeing our service delivery numbers going up and the number of undelivered trips going down.
Thank you very much, Chair. Appreciate the time.
Councillor Lowe?
Thank you, Chair. So I want to look at something else that was in the presentation, and that was the safety numbers. And I guess I'll start with that survey about people's perception of safety in OC Transpo. What is the definition of safety that's being asked? Is it like intrapersonal events, as in passenger-to-passenger events or incidents rather, or is it more like how safe do they feel with the certain operator behind the wheel, or is it just really, really general and broad?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. It is the latter. So the question itself is, do you agree, somewhat disagree, or disagree with the following statement: I feel secure when traveling on the OC Transpo network. So we'd leave it up to respondents to make their own determination or definition of what security means to them. And so it is a broad definition of security in terms of the customer survey. This is a very high-level survey that's conducted regularly.
Okay, are there any opportunities for respondents to sort of break down their explanation at all? Like, can the person taking the survey make notes?
Thank you, Chair. Through the regular survey that's asked every week, every month, no, there are not opportunities. The reason for that being that the idea behind the survey is for it to be very short. So when we're calling respondents, it's a very short survey. It's also a way, open-ended questions like that cost more, basically, right? And so they take more time to code the answers and to receive them. And so where we would dig into those types of questions, kind of going that next step and to get a little bit more insights, is through the other surveys I mentioned, the winter and the fall, quarterly longer form surveys, where we're asking 15 to 20 questions and digging in a little bit more into customers' sentiments.
Okay, I understand that. I just, when I saw that data, my first worry was, if somebody feels unsafe because they don't like the clientele that they have to ride with every night, then it might reflect poorly on the operator. While they might completely feel secure in the bus because of the professionalism of our operators and everything, something else might sort of skew those results. But if there is a more detailed questionnaire, then I think that sort of addresses it. So I'm glad that's there. When it comes to the heartbreaking events that are noted, that seem to be I think you said the primary cause of customer injuries, was it?
Yes, that's correct.
Are those, is there any sort of data, or do you at least keep any sort of data internally that note, like, what exactly causes those heartbreaking events? Is it a car cutting them off? Is it they don't want to get an automated ticket, or is it something else?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. There's a variety of reasons. Each and every one of those occurrences are investigated by my safety team to try and uncover what the underlying root cause is that led up to that particular heartbreaking event. Over the last 12 months, I would say the majority of our monthly safety campaigns have been focused on our operators paying attention to the road as their first and most highest priority. what's going on around them. And so distracted driving is, in my opinion, an ongoing concern, and one that we're trying very hard to build sensitivities around, to continue to educate, bring awareness to the importance of ensuring that the operator, as the captain of the ship, maintains their focus on the road and what's going on the road around them. The one-day refresher training as well has a considerable amount of time spent on intersection awareness, because intersections are the place where the majority of our collisions and hard-braking events are occurring. And we're doing deeper investigations as well into the nature of those collisions. Last year, we had 636 preventable collisions. And if I recall correctly, 439 of those were a result of sideswipes. So buses pulling out of, from servicing a stop, buses making left-hand or right-hand turns, and so on. So it's a lot of work, but it's pulling together as a team and educating, building awareness, and focusing on the things that are really important to keep everybody safe on the road.
The sideswiping is interesting. When you sort of get all that data and you narrow it down to certain bus stops or certain streets, like do you ever has there been ever any opportunities for you to share that information with, let's say, transportation planning, other parts of the city that may contribute to improving the safety, or rather decreasing the number of in this case sideswipes? Because like I'm thinking in my ward, it's a lot of our bus stops are in bike lanes, and a bus can surprisingly fit into a bike lane, and cars can still go by them in the right-hand travel lane. And it's not a bus bay, so yeah, you do look, but it's not a full-on lane change either. So it's are there any opportunities to sort of share that feedback with other city departments?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. Yeah, absolutely. That's part of our overall result of many of our safety investigations, where we'll make recommendations as to the importance of sustaining and proactively planning street conditions, particularly in those areas where space is at a premium. Last year, 2023, we found that the majority of those sideswipe collisions actually occurred within wards 14 and 15. And really, when you think about it, I don't think that's a big surprise. Street space is at a premium, and there are many users of the street space, different types of users. And so when construction projects or changes to the street are planned, we work with our partners in traffic to look and ensure that we are we're setting up our operators for success so that they can successfully navigate through those areas where there's been altered or changes to the street.
Okay, understood. Last question, thankfully. How finalized is the review? How finalized is the new ways to bus? The actual design of the network, not the comms campaign. Sorry, I should have clarified.
Very.
Okay, good. So as part of the as part of the campaign to sort of prepare for that very finalized new ways to bus, is there any sort of early work that we can do to minimize having to sort of create this huge bulge of work that's going to come closer to? Like, I'm thinking some bus stops that have been disused since the June 2021 cuts.
There's a lot of work to do, Mr. Chair, and we're doing it to do the highest priority work first. Not to say that the other work is of low priority, it's just there are some things that have to come first in the sequence. We will be working on everything right up until the first day, and we will probably be cleaning up old bus stops for weeks after that. But Councillor Lowe, if you have specific suggestions for us, by all means get in touch directly and we'll check into them.
Yep, will do. Cool. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to staff for the update. Lots going on as always, and we appreciate keep the transparency and keeping us up to speed on all the activities of OC Transpo. So that concludes this item. We're going to go right into our next item because we've got some folks who have some other commitments today on our committee. So we'll be moving right into the Zero Emission Bus Program Update Report. We have a presentation from staff.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président et membres de la Commission du
Good day,
Transport.
Mr. Chair, members of the Transit Commission. I am Danielle Villeneuve. I'm the Program Management under Richard Holder and Engineering Services. Today, I will introduce the Zero Transpo Zero Emission Bus Program.
Electric buses. Next slide, please. In a previous update, we spoke about the successful pilot project which showed that battery electric buses can successfully operate here in our city. Since then, after 2 years in service, our electric buses have accumulated over 500,000 kilometers and saved approximately 25,000 liters of fuel per bus in 2023. They have also proven reliable with a mean distance between failure, or MDBF, of 6,100 kilometers. The MDBF is an industry standard that compares the number of failures that result in a bus being taken out of service against the amount of mileage accumulated in service. The charging infrastructure has also had great reliability with more than 95% after 2,385 charge sessions last year. Next slide, please. Following the recommendations made by the Auditor General in the Sprint Audit Number 2, the 40-foot buses are being purchased through a collaborative procurement process with the TTC. Our team received the vendor proposals mid-2023 and worked with bus manufacturers on specific commercial and technical amendments to align to our specific requirements. Due to the additional time required to secure funding for the program, setting up the electrical infrastructure contract, and bus procurement, we now expect bus deliveries to begin at the end of 2024. Next slide, please. In December, we signed an adoption agreement with New Flyer Industries to supply 51 buses to the city, with 22 expected to arrive at the end of this year and 29 arriving Q4 of 2025. We are also working with Nova Bus to sign an adoption agreement for 51 buses, 4 of which we are hoping to receive by the end of this year and 47 at the end of 2025. Next slide, please. In the previous slide, I went through a lot of numbers. In this slide, we are showing a breakdown of when we expect to receive either 40-foot or 60-foot electric buses from now until 2027. By the end of this year, we are expecting to have 30 electric buses, 106 by the end of next year, and our goal is 352 by 2027. Next slide, please. In this section of the presentation, I will now touch on the infrastructure work required to support our growing electric bus fleet. This slide is an aerial view of the Saint Laurent complex to give you an idea of the scope of work. Each green area is where there is currently or will be infrastructure work taking place. Overall, this comprehensive work includes provisioning new sprinkler systems that increases firefighting capacity, structural reinforcement required for the charging infrastructure, and other life cycle work, and a new parking garage. Next slide, please. Work in the Saint Laurent garage is divided in two phases. Phase 1, currently under construction, is scheduled to be completed in April. Phase 2 is expected to start in the coming months and will end in mid-2025. When this work is done, this building will have the capacity to park and charge 143 buses. Next slide, please. Part of the work that is underway also includes things like ceiling beam reinforcement, walls being painted, new LED lights being installed, and upgrading the sprinkler systems. On the left of the slide, you can see how much an improved work area these changes are making. Next slide, please. The work also consists of replacing end-of-life infrastructure like underground plumbing, sanitary catch basins, concrete work, and garage doors. Next slide, please. We will also be converting the existing exterior bus parking to a new parking garage. This building will be used to park 84 60-foot articulated electric buses, provide storage space, and a service lane for cleaning and washing buses. This construction is expected to be completed at the end of 2026. Next slide, please. In the next couple of slides, I want to touch on various charging and electrical infrastructure work that is needed to support our electric buses. The work we are doing with Enviri and Hydro Ottawa can be divided into three large buckets. First, there's off-site components, which are Hydro Ottawa assets to handle the new load demand, which are required to charge the electric buses. This includes a new substation and a distribution circuit. Second is the on-site components that are found outside of our facility and our city asset. These include an on-site substation, which is made up of items like generators, transformers, switchgears. The procurement process of these items are at various stages and progressing well. Third is the on-site components that are inside our facilities. These components are what make up our charging equipment and include items like the step-down transformers, switchboards, battery power packs, and pantographs that connect to the buses. We have purchased the charging equipment for the next 30 buses. Next slide, please. We have completed the relocation of our pilot chargers and are well on our way to preparing the facilities for the installation of the next 30 dispensers. As you can see on the screen, this work has included site preparation needed to relocate the chargers, new cabling, testing commissioning to ensure charging functionality. Next slide, please. To support the new electric buses expected this year, we have concluded our procurement process for the charging cabinets and 30 pantograph dispensers. Right now, our teams are working through the detailed electrical infrastructure design for the next batch of charging equipment that is needed. Next slide, please. I want to conclude by speaking about safety, which is top of mind for my team and everybody at OC Transpo. To ensure that safety of our operation, we are following the hazard and risk hierarchy of controls for the Canadian Centre of Occupational Health and Safety. This layered approach ensures the utmost safety of our staff, public, and our assets by eliminating or reducing risks. They include things like having a vehicle battery management system on buses, upgrading our fire suppression system, minimizing the number of buses per charging zone, having proper safety procedures and PPE for staff. We have set up a fire safety working group with representation from Infrastructure Services, Ottawa Fire Services, Building Code to review all areas of the program, and are also in discussions with other transit agencies, industry experts, and associations like OPTA and the UITP to implement good practices. Next slide, please. Before I conclude, I just want to quickly thank my team and everybody involved in the ZEB program for their hard work and passion in advancing this work to electrify our city.
Thank you very much. Merci. We don't have any delegations, so we'll go right to questions for staff, and we do have some questions. Councillor Hill is first up. Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I'll just say I was very interested to hear the comments on the fire safety. I've been concerned about this. I've spoken to this a number of times in this commission, and I'm glad to see the active steps being taken to address that issue. A couple of questions for the presentation. You noted in the report that the electric buses are regularly doing 200 kilometers or more a day. How does that compare to the diesel fleet?
So unfortunately, I don't have the numbers to compare them to the diesel fleet. However, 75 times this year, buses have been put on single routes over 200 kilometers. We have a lot of morning and afternoon cycles. 170 times the buses have traveled over 300 kilometers, 190 times between 250 and 300, and 230 times between 100 and 250.
Okay, thank you for that. In previous reporting, you've noted how the electric buses will fill about 60 to 65% of the routes in the city. And by 2027, we will have replaced about 350 of our 750 diesel buses with electric buses. Can you speak to the long-term plan to address that delta of the 35 to 40% that will still be not replaced?
Yeah, so currently phase one of the program is for 350 buses between now and 2027. Our target is to transition all buses to zero emissions between now and 2036. We're focused on the first phase. However, we will be turning our attention to the following phase shortly and understand what technology is out there. And part of the original report that came to Transit Commission and Council had us coming back to Transit Commission with a technology review for the following phases.
Okay, I'm interested to see that, and perhaps I'll engage offline to talk a little bit further on some of those options. So I appreciate that. When discussing the defect items that impacted the mean distance before failure of the electric buses, you noted that the end-of-life brake sensors were failing prematurely. Does the removal of this cause any kind of a concern with regard to broader safety for the driver and the public?
Thanks for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. No, there's no safety with removing the system. We have a continuous brake wear monitoring system that provides an accurate percentage of brake wear. Our technicians continue to do their regular preventative maintenance as required under the MTO, and this was an added design by the manufacturer that they have removed.
Okay, that's good. I want to talk a little bit about range anxiety. I know that you noted that it's a consistent issue that drivers have been switching out the buses or canceling their routes early out of concern that the vehicle is going to run out of battery power. What are the visual indicators that drivers are seeing that prompts that kind of behavior?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. So on our buses, we have a warning that comes on when the state of charge is at 15%. At 10%, there will be a audible alarm that stays on, and at 5%, there will be systems on the bus that start to shut down to ensure that the remaining battery electric that is on the bus goes to the safety components. But even at 15%, when the operator gets the first warning, there is roughly a 50 to 60 kilometer range remaining.
Okay, and just from a general operations perspective, what's the percentage charge that staff are being instructed to return back to get charged, or is it that simple to say, you know, at X percent they come back?
Thanks for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. We don't have a specific range other than we would like the buses to return to the garage at 15%. However, all the blocks that have been assigned for these buses, we do ensure before they go out in service that they have the appropriate range. Plus, we've trained our staff and our control room and provide them information on the range available as the bus goes through the day in service with the remaining state of charge.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That's good for now. I may come on a bit. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lowe.
Thanks, Chair. The safety, the hierarchy of controls for safety is really good. Like I think we recently had a training module to complete about the hierarchy of controls, and you know, it goes through exactly what we need to do to keep our assets and people safe. However, when it comes to the Saint Laurent South Garage, I'm wondering how, you know, I remember there were doors and everything, but how exactly are the, you know, separate parking areas divided and quarantined in case something happens?
Good question, and through you, Mr. Chair. The advantage that we had with the South Garage, it was already separated with firewalls between every 4 lanes, which is something that we are introducing in our new garage versus the, you know, as we were building new garages, you know, the open concept space. So the South Garage, we took advantage of that. We are designing safe walkways, so realigning all our safe walkways, aligning the exit doors, upgrading our sprinkler system to ensure the utmost safety for the staff that are there, and then our assets.
So does that mean we'll be parking fewer buses per lane in the South Garage? Because right now with the bike racks and everything, you know, the back ends of buses do stick out through the back.
Thanks for the question. True you, Mr. Chair. So we will design the South Garage for 243 buses. We are losing capacity, not mainly because of the improvements for the safety, but we are losing lanes for the electrical infrastructure. So we're losing 3 lanes, which is an equivalent of 18 buses that could have been parked in the South Garage.
Okay. Moving on to the generator that's being used. That's part of the whole infrastructure. Are you able to describe when that generator will be used? Like when it'll be used?
Yeah, currently the plan for that generator is for backup power, so once we lose power, it will be turned on to supply the electricity required for the site and for the electric buses.
And what's the fuel source for that generator?
Natural gas.
Natural gas? Okay, and you know, will that generator sort of have to run every so often? Let's say, I don't know what the cycle is, once a month, let's say, to sort of get it going and to cycle out all the old fuel. Let's say we never have to use it, right? Is it going to have to run at some point to sort of keep it fresh and keep the fuel supply fresh?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are preventive maintenance required on all generators. So yes, there will be monthly cycling. There's 6 months inspections. There are yearly inspections that will be required. So yes, the generator will cycle regularly to ensure that it's kept in good shape.
Yeah, no, that's okay. My second last question is so you're saying that the generator will be used as a backup power supply only. That means the electricity that's being supplied to the facility is adequate to charge all the buses we're receiving till 2026, or is it sort of like for this year, for next year?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. So currently we have enough power coming on site for the next batch of buses that we are introducing. So we will have the capacity, or we have the capacity for 30 buses. Beyond that, Hydro Ottawa will be providing a temporary connection with the spare electricity that they have on the grid, and they will be building a new offsite substation and the capacity to support us long term.
Okay, because I really hope that, we're not using a fossil fuel to charge what is marketed as a zero emissions bus, because otherwise that really is a really expensive way of defeating the purpose. The last question, sort of building on Councillor Hill's question about the MDBF, are most of the issues that are causing the buses to require maintenance or go off the road, are they like bus issues, or are they specific to the e-bus?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. We had some electrical defects that were repaired, low voltage on one of the high battery cables, a cable going to the pantograph, and very, very early days, we had to replace one battery pack. All of these items under warranty by the bus manufacturer, but most of the failures are regular bus items and or defects that take the bus out of service.
Yeah, so most of them are defects that a diesel bus would have as well.
Correct.
Cool, okay, thanks.
Councillor Menard.
Thanks very much, Chair. I appreciate the report and the specifics and metrics that have come back to us. It's helpful to have this, and I think another advantage of the Auditor General reporting as we're making these large decisions, the advantage of that. So really appreciate it. I wanted to just ask a bit more about the savings mentioned in the report and make sure I have it right. So are we seeing savings on the fuel cost? So is it 50,000 liters per year per bus that we would normally be spending on diesel? Is that an accurate figure?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. I believe the number that's in the report is 25,000 liters of fuel that comparable to if we were running a 40-foot diesel buses.
Okay. And then what about the maintenance costs? I mean, compared, we mentioned diesel buses have maintenance as well. Are you seeing fewer maintenance costs as a result of the electric bus in the pilot?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. Currently too early to provide that information. However, we will be gathering all that information to ensure that we're able to report back.
Okay, that's helpful. On the e-bus, the fleet ordering that's going to be happening, I just want to understand the path we're on. So we have these 4 buses now, which are New Flyer buses. The 26 that are coming in Q4 2024, are those also supposed to be the same New Flyer bus, or are those projected to be different buses?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the next 26 buses, 22 of those will be New Flyer buses with the lessons learned that we have from the 4 pilot buses. And we are also looking at onboarding 4 Nova buses.
And 4 Nova, okay. The partnership with the TTC as recommended by the Auditor General, is that looking at Nova buses for future dates out, or is it the same? Because you're saying we're going to have 4 Nova buses come as part of those 26. Will we be switching to Nova over time, or is that not too early to determine?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair, we've procured 51 New Flyer buses, 22 that'll be delivered at the end of this year, the remainder for the end of 2025. And we are working on an agreement with Nova Bus for 51 buses, 4 that will be delivered hopefully at the end of this year, with the remainder at the end of 2025. So what we're looking at is a 50-50 split between New Flyer and Nova.
Okay, just give me the rationale for doing that. Is it risk mitigation, or is it the ordering with TTC that makes us differ on the bus type?
Chair, it's very important to be able to protect the city and the service delivery. So the fact that we are able to deal with 2 vendors, it's very, very important for us. So if we have a problem with one of the vendors, at least we will have another one. And TTC is doing the same thing as well.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Chair, and appreciate the report back. It's overall very good news, and that those minor defects are being completed, and just congratulations on all the work to this date. Very hopeful that this program is a big success as we move along. So thanks for your attention to detail.
Councillor Tierney.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, the previous two committee members asked many of the same questions I have, so forgive me if I just go back and review once again real quickly. Our current diesel-powered buses, what's the life expectancy of the remaining fleet? How many do we have? And how many will actually have to completely fall off the grid because, like a car, suddenly you get rust, a knob falls off, it becomes too expensive to keep that bus on the road. How many do we have and how many do we expect that we're going to lose?
Okay. Thanks for the question. Chair, through you, we have 750 diesel buses roughly. Sorry, I don't have the exact count. And we are currently replacing, the first phase of the program is 350 buses, and obviously we will need to be replacing them all, or the goal is to replace them all with zero-emission buses by 2037. We are 2036, and we are replacing these buses as they become end of life.
Okay, and my understanding, there's quite a few diesel buses coming, excuse me, near end of life, or the double deckers are having massive challenges now. So I don't foresee us reordering any double deckers in the future. Is there a plan of crossover for a plan B if the Nova, which the previous committee member said, why are we doing this? It's good to hedge your bets, obviously, but are we doing this specifically because New Flyer, the 4 buses we've been testing and using, they're not able to deliver the numbers? Or is this more about completely ensuring that we're going to be safe using 2 separate products?
Chair, for the 40-foot buses, the fact that we use New Flyers and Nova buses, it's only because we don't want to rely only on one vendor. We know that the electric bus is still a new technology, so we will continue to learn with those vendors, so we don't want to take any risk. For the double deckers, if you remember, we have taken the decision to retire those who were very, very, very bad on their reliability, so we kept only the good ones. And now, unfortunately, with the articulate buses, we're struggling a little bit because most of them are due to be replaced, but we know that the e-bus is delayed for many good reasons, and that's why we're working with our partners at the maintenance department to see how we can just continue to work with them to deliver the service to our customers.
Oh, sure, absolutely, and I completely understand that. And so essentially we're taking the route, we're hoping to hold the diesel buses that could run end of life together with, I don't know, duct tape and popsicle sticks as long as we can, as long as it doesn't affect our bottom line, because of course the new technology buses that we planned on aren't coming in at the rate that we expected.
Not duct tape. Sorry for that. We make sure that they are good to go. Otherwise, we don't bring them outside with duct tape or popsicle stick.
All right. No, that's good to know. So do we have a plan B in the eventuality? Because I could see it happening. Electric vehicles are tremendous, but to get them in your hands always is a problem, even as a residential person trying to get an electric vehicle. It's hot or cold on shipping dates and everything. If they can't confirm shipping dates and we start to slide, and we know our end-of-life buses are so full of popsicle sticks and duct tape that we have to purchase new ones. Do we have a plan B on that? Is there a hit or miss mark that we should be aware of as a committee that, okay, we're not going to be able to get these many electric buses, these end-of-life buses we kept as long as we can, we have to procure new diesel buses? Do we have a plan like that just in case?
Chair, we don't want to come back with the diesel buses, and anyway, most of the vendors are just remove this option on their list because everyone around the world wants to move to e-buses. So what we're doing now is we are trying to put in place preventive maintenance on our diesel buses so we can have this backup just in case, because as I said, the technology is brand new, even if we are very pleased with the results that we have with those 4, but we are still on the phase which is very new. So we think that we will be able to continue to deliver the service with the diesel buses, and we keep that on our radar for sure. And if we see something else, we'll keep you updated for sure. But for now, so far so good, I would say.
Okay, I'll give it some thought and Chair and Vice Chair, maybe I'll speak to you after. I really think it's important to have a plan B or where those slip points are. Because you remember last term, and I know many of my colleagues were there, we were literally searching online for used articulated buses tongue in cheek, because it's one thing to say, okay, we'll go back to diesel. We're tired of waiting so long. We have to get a few new ones out there. It still takes time to deliver those products that we discovered. So I feel far more comfortable having a plan B in small tranches, but that's something I can take offline for sure. And I want to thank you for your presentation today.
Okay, Councillor Curry, or Vice Chair Curry, rather.
Thank you very much. I have a quick question. I'm seeing and hearing about new technology for electric buses and other countries have it, countries that have a lot of snow and sleet and everything else like we have, where a bus just drives over top of like 4 squares on the pavement and is charged, so they don't have to always go back to the main building to charge every night. It's kind of like the MagSafe technology on the back of your phone. Well, my phone anyway. So just wondering, the new buses that we have ordered, is there any understanding of whether those buses would have that capability?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. I believe you're referring to inductive charging. We are following that technology. The current bus manufacturers do not have that technology available on their buses. However, we will continue to follow and see if it's something that we could implement on future bus builds.
Great, thank you for that. I just, when I'm looking at what other countries are doing, they're having their entire municipal fleets charging, in the middle of the road instead of always going back to depots, and then they're having other cars be able to charge, and then the city's getting revenue that way. So anyway, the technology evolves every single second, but just happy to know that you are following that and watching it, because it's certainly interesting and definitely working in other countries, so I understand. But thanks a lot.
Chair, if you don't mind, maybe I can complete the answer just to make sure that I understood very well your question, Councillor Curry. So we have the option to what we call the fast charging, but the city has preferred the in-depot charging, because when you have the fast charging, we need what we call a pantograph at certain areas in the city. And if we have a detour, if we have an accident, so we cannot have access to those pantographs. And those buses, for now, have only 20 kilometers as autonomy. So that means every, let's say 18, maybe 19 kilometers, you have to go under the pantograph and get your battery charged. But that takes only 2-3 minutes, which is not 3 hours when it's in depot. But this technology is not very good for us, so that's why we prefer to get the charging in depot. So we have 200 and more autonomy, and we can go with our bus during the day. The bus will come back, we'll charge it again, and we'll be ready to go for the rest of the day without having to charge it every, let's say, 20 kilometers.
Okay, well, what I was reading was different. So anyway, just if you want to look into it further, there's certainly lots of opportunities, but thank you for explaining that.
Okay, Councillor Hill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. In the report, you noted that the mean distance before failure for the electric buses are 6,100 kilometers, and that the remaining diesel fleet is 7,300 kilometers. But many of the diesel fleet are over a decade old, especially the 60-footers, which were purchased back from 08 to 11. My question was, what is the mean distance before failure of the diesel Nova buses, which were purchased in 2019?
Thanks for the question. I don't have the data for back in 2019. Currently, the Nova buses are sitting around 18,000 is their mean distance between failure.
Okay, so I understand we need to be kind of careful over analyzing that data, but What steps are we taking to ensure that our electric buses can reach higher standards, more in comparison with the Nova diesel fleet?
Thanks for the question, through you, Chair. Yeah, so we are tracking every defect that we have, and all the changes that are currently being made are introduced on the next round of buses. We're also learning from other transit agencies, especially through this collaborative procurement. Items that are seen in other cities, we're making sure that they're introduced on our buses and the goal to bring up that mean distance between failures. And 4 buses is a hard number for tracking the MDBF. Just with one failure, there's a lot of ups and downs. However, our goal is definitely to bring that up and improve the reliability.
Okay, and with regard to the double-decker fleet, which I understood we purchased between 2015 and 2020-ish, it has a lower annual kilometers driven in comparison to the electric buses. Can you speak to why the double-decker buses are getting less kilometers driven?
Thanks for the question. Unfortunately, I don't have that information. Happy to bring that back.
Okay. And do the double-decker buses have a similar MDBF to the electric buses, or do we know that?
Thanks for the question, through you, Chair. The double-deckers are sitting roughly around 2,700.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. That's good for me now.
Councillor Lowe.
Well, thanks, Chair. I normally don't talk this much at committee. But anyway, no, I want to echo the comments that were made by one of my colleagues there earlier about having a plan B, because we have a part of our fleet, I don't know if it's significant, but we have a part of our fleet that is pushing 20 years old. And, a lot of places do 18, a lot of places do 15, but we have some buses out there that are pushing 20. They rattle in a different way that they did 10 years ago. And the panels are what's held together by duct tape, not the vital components of the bus. Anyway, so I missed a part of your answer there, unfortunately. Like what is the plan if, let's say, the tranche of buses we're getting in Q4 of this year gets pushed back, let's say, a quarter or two?
Chair, for now, we know that we have old buses that we were supposed to replace by e-buses. And for many reasons, we had to delay the purchasing of those buses. However, as I said, we are working with those old buses, and we are working on the other good buses as well. And Nova buses is a good example where we have a fantastic MDBF on them. So we are doing a lot of preventive maintenance to make sure that we can keep them more than less. And the other thing as well is the percentage of non-available buses. So the maintenance plans that we have put in place is to have more buses than we need available so we can deal with hazards, with the traffic, with the mechanic issue that we could have. So by playing with this percentage of non-availability, by reduce it, that will give us more buses to be able to run the service. For sure, I will never be able to replace 500 buses tomorrow, but for now we are confident, and we are following the trend that around the world people want to switch to electric buses. And today, frankly, if you would like to buy diesel buses, maybe you will purchase them as a cost that could be higher than you used to. And the other challenge as well is to find vendor that will be willing to do so. So for now, I don't think we are there, but we are hearing you for sure. We'll listen to you, and we'll try to present you something that you can trust. But for now, the goal is not to go back with the diesel buses, it's to move forward with these electric buses.
Okay, and I don't think what we're suggesting is moving backwards. I just think that a plan, secondary plan is always very, very helpful and appropriate for large investments like this. The second question I have, which I forgot to ask earlier, is when the auxiliary heater is running, how much does that impact the mileage by? Like, I know we've had a decent winter, but if in a winter, like next winter, we had 60 days minus 20 in a row.
Yeah, thanks for the question, through you, Chair. So the diesel auxiliary heater is helpful for the range. It turns on at 5 degrees Celsius, and at 6 degrees is our worst range that we have because we're relying solely on electric, and that range is significant around the 80 to 100 kilometer range. So as we turn on our diesel auxiliary heater, range is less of a concern.
Yep, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing no more questions. We do need to receive this report. So is this report received?
Received.
Thank you. And thank you to staff for the update. There are no in-camera items today. We do have a notice of motion from Councillor Lowe.
I really don't normally speak this much at committee. Whereas the Transit Commission approved the Administrative Council submission of 2020, TSD TS number 6 on the 18th of November 2020, later approved by Council on the 9th of December 2020. Whereas the approved report recommended adjusting the boundary between the urban transit area, the UTA, and the rural transit area, the RTA, to match that of the urban boundary as defined in Schedule B of the official plan. Whereas bylaw number 2021-57 and bylaw number 2021-58 define the RTA and UTA respectively. Whereas part of the boundary near Manotick passes through and bisects the property parcel at 3889 Rideau Valley Drive. And whereas the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, the RVCA, is headquartered at 3889 Rideau Valley Drive and shares a common vehicular access with Borough Gaffney Park. And whereas the RVCA facility is located within the UTA, while the common vehicular access with the park is in the RTA. And whereas the location of the common vehicular access means the entire property is classified as being within the RTA when making a paratransport booking, including the RVCA's building, despite the building's physical location within the UTA. And whereas all paratransport trips must be urban to urban, urban to rural, rural to urban, with no rural to rural trips permitted. And whereas the RVCA's Nature for All Committee, whose mandate includes raising awareness and funds to improve accessibility to its conservation areas, meets regularly at the RVCA building. And whereas the committee includes at least one paratransport customer, and whereas the anomaly of the boundary through 3889 Rideau Valley Drive has been a cause of difficulty, stress, and loss of dignity for customers requesting trips starting or ending at the RVCA building, therefore be resolved that Transit Commission recommend that Council amend bylaw 2021-57 to exclude the entire property at 3889 Rideau Valley Drive from the RTA, and be it further resolved that the Transit Commission recommend that Council amend bylaw 2021-58 to include the entire property at 3889 Rideau Valley Drive in the urban transit area. And be it further resolved that the amending bylaw authorized by this motion shall be deemed to come into force on the date of any Council approval of this motion.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with that at the next meeting. Are there any other motions, any inquiries? No. There's no other business, so thank you again to staff, OC Transpo staff, staff from the clerk's office, our interpreters, and of course, the operators and employees of OC Transpo today. And we are adjourned. Our next meeting is Thursday, April 11th.